Everyone, welcome to our June 22nd Board of Education meeting for LBUSD. I'll call our business to order. Miss Kerr, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Yes, please. Please stand and join us in the pledge.
I apologize for that, Vice President. We're going to start throwing things around over here. Cheers. We welcome those who are here for the purposes of addressing the board at the proper time and in the order of their request. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please fill out a form, have a stack up here, indicating your name and the agenda item you wish to address. You may also request to give testimony on an item not listed for discussion today. However, full discussion on any items not listed on the agenda will have to be delayed until such a time as the item can be publicly posted in advance as a regular agenda item. If you wish to ask questions, please address them to the chair, that's me, and not to any individual member of our board or staff. The board has been meeting in closed session today regarding matters listed on today's closed session agenda. And the board voted to approve a retirement agreement lease with a permanent certificated teacher, resolving all claims between the parties and providing for consideration. The vote was unanimous, with all 5 members of the board voting to approve. Public hearing, we have none today, so we will move for 2 items. Call for agenda items for separate action and adoption of the agenda as posted.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. Approval of minutes from our June 1st meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. We will move right into our recognitions and acknowledgements, and this is from our last meeting, Dr. Baker. So it's regarding our National Board Certified Teachers.
Yes, it's a continuation of the celebration. We had a little technical difficulty the last time, and we'll be celebrating again tonight through the use of a video that's been prepared.
National Board Certification is a process designed for teachers to demonstrate through standard-based evidence the positive impact they have on student learning. It is a public assurance that teachers have met the profession's highest standard for accomplished practice. It is grounded in their 5 core propositions that describe what teachers should know and be able to do. Teachers have a commitment to student learning. They know the subjects they teach and how to teach those subjects to students. They are responsible for managing and monitoring student learning. They think systematically through their practice and learn from experience. Teachers are members of learning communities. The certification process is designed to collect standard-based evidence of accomplished practice and is divided into 4 components: content knowledge, differentiation in instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, and being an effective and reflective practitioner. In Long Beach Unified, we offer support to teachers in many different stages of their National Board Certification journey. We currently have 17 teachers in a pre-candidate program, 37 in our candidate program, and 177 teachers who have received their National Board Certification. Now, we would like to take this opportunity to recognize our teachers who have achieved their National Board Certification during the 2021-2022 academic year. Achieving National Board Certification is a great accomplishment and demonstrates their hard work and commitment to continue their growth as educators. As in other professions, certification requires periodic demonstration of current knowledge and skills. It signifies that teachers are up to date on the knowledge and best practice in their certificate area. Let's take a moment to acknowledge our National Board Certified teachers who have maintained their board certification this year, which extends their certificate by 5 years from their current certificate's expiration date. Finally, let's acknowledge our National Board Certified teachers who have renewed their certification. Until 2020, renewal was the process by which a National Board Certified teacher retained their certification by extending their certificate for an additional 10 years from their current certificate's expiration date.
So congratulations to our 8 teachers that attained national board certification, 10 that maintained, and 7 that renewed national board certification. We will move on to our student, staff, and school celebrations.
I'm Sammy Hamilton. I'm a sophomore at Wilson High School, and I currently swim for Nova Aquatics of Irvine Club Team and Wilson Girls Swim Team. Sometimes I struggle keeping up with homework and going to practices, but you find a balance, and it's almost like a game. You just got to keep up with it. Going into high school swimming is definitely a different experience than club swim. It's more of a team environment and a team sport, especially compared to club. Club's more individual. Wilson's definitely a welcoming environment, especially the Wilson Girls Swim Team. We have a really good dynamic, and I think we all really like to work hard. We worked hard, especially this year, with getting the Moore League title back for the first time, I think, 5 years. My mom, she's an actor and she does stunts, so she got me into that at a young age, but mostly for now I'm focusing on swim.
Congratulations to Sammy Hamilton. Wilson. It's odd that we don't have our student school board member up here with us. We'll get through these next couple months without one. We will move on to our public testimony on items listed on the agenda. And we have a few here. I know we're going to require some interpretation. For these, our first speaker is Carolina Ávila. ¿Sí? Si gusta pasar enfrente y ahorita le proveemos interpretación. Buenas tardes, bienvenida.
Miembros de la Junta. Mi intérprete. Perdón. Sí. Buenas tardes, miembros de la Junta, Superintendente Baker y personal. Mi nombre es Carolina Ávila, madre y miembro de Latinos en Ashland, California. Estoy aquí para dar mi comentario sobre el LCAP 22-23. Me gustaría ver más inversiones en salud mental en el LCAP porque tanto los estudiantes, las familias y el personal lo necesitan desesperadamente.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Superintendent Baker, and staff. My name is Carolina Avila. I am a mother as well as a member of Latinos in Action, California, and I'm here to give a comment regarding the LCAP 22-23. I would like to see more investment in mental health in the LCAP because not only do students and families, but also the staff need it desperately.
Sé que ustedes están tratando de tener más apoyo en esta área de la salud mental. Sé que están implementando nuevos programas este año como los centros de recursos, pero también ustedes saben que esto no es suficiente. Los maestros pasan tiempos difíciles con estudiantes. Estudiantes tienen muchas dificultades dentro de los salones y en áreas dentro de la escuela.
I know that you're trying to have more support in this area of mental health and that you are implementing new programs this year with resource centers, but you also know that that's not enough. Our teachers are going through a hard time with their students. The students are having a lot of difficulty in their classrooms and in areas within the school.
Como el caso de una estudiante muy cercana a mí. Fue agredida sin ninguna razón y ahora ella tiene tanto miedo. No quiere regresar a la misma escuela porque dice que la escuela no hizo nada para hablar con la niña que la atacó. No buscaron reunirse para hablar, que no la refirieron con la consejera, en sí no hicieron nada. Y esto es muy preocupante.
Like the case of a student that's really close to me. She was attacked without any reason at all, and now she's so scared. She doesn't want to go back to the same school because she says that school did not do anything to speak or didn't speak to the girl that attacked her. They didn't try to meet with her to speak, and they were not referred to a counselor. They didn't do anything, and that's really worrying.
Ustedes pueden ver que el LCAP no refleja inversiones significativas nuevas o adicionales en personal o programas de salud mental para satisfacer esas necesidades. Es casi seguro que el distrito recibirá millones en fondos continuos adicionales a partir del próximo año.
You can see that the LCAP does not reflect significant investments that are new or additional in staffing or in mental health programs to satisfy these needs. It's almost a sure thing that the district will receive millions of dollars in funds, continuous additional funds, starting next year.
Por lo que pido que inviertan en personal de salud mental en el sitio escolar, que ciertamente no existe para la mayoría de las escuelas de nuestro distrito de Long Beach. Pido que más personal de salud mental calificado, especialmente en las escuelas de alta necesidad, con altos índices de acción disciplinaria, invierten en nuestros niños, en el personal, en las familias. Hagamos de nuestro distrito un ejemplo de equidad. Gracias por escuchar mi comentario. Gracias, guys.
That's why I'm asking you all to invest in staff for mental health at the school sites. That will certainly does not exist currently for the majority of schools in our Long Beach district. I ask that more mental health staff that is qualified, especially in schools of high needs and high rates of disciplinary action. So invest in our children, the staff, and families, and let's make out of our district an example of equity. Thank you for listening to my comment.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Next, we have Guillermina Cruz. Buenas tardes, bienvenida.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, miembros de la Junta Superintendente Baker y personal. Mi nombre es Guillermina Cruz, soy madre de estudiantes de este distrito de Long Beach, miembro de Latinos in Action. Estoy aquí para dar mi comentario para el Lcap 22-23.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Superintendent Baker, and staff. My name is Guillermina Cruz. I am a mother of students in the District of Long Beach and also a member of Latinos in Action, and I'm here to give a comment regarding the LCAP 22-23.
Me gustaría ver más inversiones en actividades de enriquecimiento que hagan que la escuela sea divertida y atractiva. En la reunión de la Junta de febrero, el personal informó que el ausentismo crónico de este año es del 25%, lo cual es realmente espantoso.
I would like to see more investment in enrichment activities that make the school be a fun and attractive place. In the meeting that took place in February, the staff informed us that chronic absenteeism this year is at 25%, which is really scary.
Los estudiantes necesitan oportunidades de aprendizajes atractivas, enriquecedoras y relevantes durante el día escolar. Yo tuve que buscar otras actividades de enriquecimiento fuera de la escuela, ya que además son costosos para familias de bajos recursos. Aunque el distrito escuchó las recomendaciones de los estudiantes, ¿sí? Y pusieron más cursos selectivos, todavía no son suficientes. También se necesita en los grados inferiores.
Students need more learning opportunities that are attractive, enriching, and relevant during the school day. I had to look for other activities that were enriching outside of the school that on top of that are very costly to families that are low income. Even though the district did listen to the recommendations that the students made and they did provide more elective courses, they were still not enough. They're also needed in lower grades.
El LCAP refleja muy poca inversión en enriquecimiento, excepto en el programa de música de primaria. Les pido expandir la programación de enriquecimiento en todo el distrito, más allá del programa de música de primaria. El único programa de enriquecimiento distrital disponible en el distrito de Long Beach parece ser el programa de música de primaria.
The LCAP reflects a really small investment in enrichment, except for the elementary program in music. I ask you all to expand the programming, the enrichment programming throughout all the district, more than just the music program at elementaries. The only enrichment program in the district available at LBUSD seems to be the music program for elementaries.
¿Qué pasa con las artes, el drama, teatro y la danza? ¿Y qué pasa con los estudiantes de secundaria y preparatoria? En la infraestructura de enriquecimiento, no parece haber nadie en el distrito a cargo de la programación de enriquecimiento. Por lo tanto, No hay ninguna persona o equipo que esté rastreando las diferentes oportunidades de enriquecimiento en las escuelas, evaluando si los programas de enriquecimiento son efectivos.
What happens to arts, drama, theater, and dance? What happens to students that are in middle school or in high school? The enrichment infrastructure. It doesn't seem like anyone in the district is in charge of the enrichment programming. Therefore, there's not one person or team who is keeping a log or a register of the different opportunities of enrichment that are in schools, nor evaluating the enrichment programs and if they're effective.
Necesitamos una persona o departamento que piensen de manera holística sobre el enriquecimiento porque realmente importa cuando se trata de la participación de los estudiantes en la escuela. Les pido agreguen estas recomendaciones al LCAP antes de su aprobación. Muchas gracias por su tiempo y atención.
We need a person or a department who can think about this in a holistic way when we're talking about enrichment, because it's really important when we're talking about the participation of students at school. So I ask you all to add these recommendations to the LCAP before it is approved. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Gracias. Thank you. Next, we have Summer Janke. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Summer Janke, and I am a parent of children that attend Tinter Preparatory. Tonight, I am here on their behalf, as well as the other children, parent, faculty, and staff. I love Tinter. It's our home school. Right now, it pains me that we're having the conversations in my house of withdrawing our children from the school and the district because we feel that not everything that can be done is being done to ensure their safety. So I want to make you aware of a safety concern on our campus. As you know, Tinter has a buzz-in system, but that buzz-in system is completely obsolete because on any given day, an intruder can walk through 10 open doors that face the front of our campus on Petaluma Street. After I expressed these concerns to Principal Riono, I was made aware that the doors are left open because of extreme temperature within the classrooms. We do not have AC and are not scheduled to get HVAC through Measure E for approximately 3 years. I've been in these classrooms, I've experienced the temperature, and I know that it's a health and safety concern, and I also know that children cannot learn in this environment. But I do understand why these classrooms are open. We know that doors can be a physical and psychological barrier to keep out intruders. If they are secured properly, it allows the school to determine who enters and when. Well, our perimeter is broken. There have been 27 school shootings this year alone. There have been 20 mass shootings since Uvalde. We have 700 students plus with faculty at Tinter. If we wait 3 years, that's 570 school days. That's 3,420 hours where our children are not protected. We cannot wait to act. Too much is at risk. So I'm here to ask you what you're going to do. I'm here to ask you to reevaluate the order of the timeline for HVAC for Measure E due to this safety concern. I'm here to ask you to secure our campus before putting funds to redecorate classrooms and update play structures. I'm here to ask you to look at the ESSER funds that were intended to create safe buildings and healthy learning environments and put them towards Tinter. And I know that these things take time, but in the meantime, I have drafted a GoFundMe account to raise funds for security screen doors or temporary fencing to enclose these classrooms. I have spoken with many families that are willing to donate funds to ensure that we get this safety measure in place until we get HVAC to close our doors. And I'm asking you to support these fundraising methods for this project. I'm asking you to provide me with the necessary contact information I need to understand how much money we need and what the timeline would look like. I've been in contact with
Thank you.
Daryl.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your time.
Dr. Baker? just want to let you know that we're going to look into it and have someone reach out to you.
Thank you.
Christopher Covington. Good evening. Welcome, Chris.
Good afternoon, school board members, Superintendent Baker, and district staff. My name is Christopher Covington. My pronouns are they and he, and I'm part of the Safer LBUSD campaign and a staff member with the Genders and Sexualities Alliance Network. I know that's a mouthful. I'm here to speak on 3 agenda items: the comprehensive safety plan, the resolution regarding gun violence prevention, and the adoption of the Lcap. All 3 items cover safety and support for all students within the district. In regards to the safety plan, I'm asking that you all revise the school safety framework to include central discipline policies, develop community-driven, community-grounded school safety plans, systems and procedures that do not rely on law enforcement, and instead prioritize holistic support, health, and prevention. Safety plans must be developed by and with students, particularly those directly most impacted by school policing, as well as parents, teachers, schools, and district administrators and support staff. Provide guidance to school sites to include specifics on school safety plans around how they're handling classroom disruptions, fights, sales, and emergencies, referrals, probation referrals to law enforcement, and call for services for school safety department. In regards to the gun violence prevention, I would like to read you off some of the points that you all will be voting on tonight. Whereas all students deserve safe environments where they can learn without fear and gun violence. The recent mass shootings in schools that include the attack of 19 school children, 2 teachers at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. Whereas no parent should send their children to school fearing that they will never come home, and that there be it for resolved that the school board opposes counterproductive and dangerous ideas like arming teachers. Well, I'm asking you all to go further than what's in the resolution, put some teeth behind those words. In September 2021, one ex-school safety officer shot and ultimately murdered Mona Rodriguez here in this district. I'm asking you that you remove all guns and weapons from all school employees, whether on or surrounding campuses, including armed guards here at the building. I'm asking for you to reinvest dollars into teachers, support staff, mental health professionals, restorative justice counselors, and conflict resolution specialists, including healing circles. In regards to the LCAP, I'm in favor of supporting more investments into mental health, staff and support, including counselors, and I don't believe that the ratio of 200 students per one counselor is enough. It's your time to make history happen, and I'm asking for you all to make immediate policy changes to ensure safety and support for all students in schools. Justice for Mona Rodriguez.
Thank you. Next, we have Marta Cota. Buenas tardes, bienvenida.
Gracias. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches, miembros de la Junta, Superintendente Baker y personal. Mi nombre es Marta Cota, soy abuelita de 2 estudiantes ya del distrito y represento también a todos los estudiantes, por eso estoy aquí haciendo recomendaciones para el CAT 22-23. Y nadie llegó, me voy a interpretar sola.
Right behind you, Marta. Yeah.
Good afternoon, board members, Superintendent Baker, and staff. My name is Marta Cota, and I am a grandmother of 2 students that are in the Long Beach district, and I'm representing all of the students here, and that's why I'm here to give recommendations regarding the LCAP 22-23.
Me gustaría ver más inversión en el aprendizaje multilingüe en el CAP, porque se necesita abordar las disparidades académicas de los estudiantes aprendices de inglés y otros estudiantes que todavía no reciben todo el apoyo a sus necesidades.
I would like to see more investments in multilingual learning in the LCAP because academic disparities need to be addressed for those students that are English learners and for other students that still have not received full support for their needs.
El Lcap refleja números muy preocupantes para los aprendices de inglés. Como que solo el 7% de los aprendices de inglés eran competentes en lengua y literatura en inglés y matemáticas. Y solo el 2.4% fueron redesignados, que es menos de la mitad de la tasa estatal. Y eso sí es preocupante. Más del 50% de los estudiantes aprendices de inglés en nuestro distrito son aprendices de inglés a largo plazo o corren el riesgo de convertirse en aprendices de inglés a largo plazo.
The LCAP reflects really worrying numbers for those that are English learners, as only 7% of the English learners were competent in the language, in English literature and mathematics, and only 2.4% were reassigned. That's less than half of the state rate, which is really worrying. More than 50% of the students that are English learners in our district are English learners for long term, or they run the risk of turning into English learners long term.
Pero lo más preocupante para mí y para muchos padres es la reducción de $500,000 a estudiantes aprendices de inglés. Es muy probable que el distrito reciba fondos adicionales, por lo que les pido que restablezcan y aumenten los fondos para los estudiantes multilingües y otros estudiantes marginados y sus familias, invirtiendo principalmente en personal para la escuela, para que realice un seguimiento del progreso y brindar apoyo y comunicarse con las familias.
And the most worrying thing is the reduction of $500,000 for English learners, students. It is very probable that the district will receive additional funds. That's why I'm asking to reestablish and to increase funds for multilingual students and for other students that are marginalized, and to invest in their families. That are to invest in the families and the staff at school to go ahead and do a follow-up of the progress, provide support, and communicate to families.
Es que sí sé dónde va. Entiendo que hay un especialista de alfabetización en la mayoría de las escuelas y que el distrito implementará nueva tecnología para analizar los datos de evaluación y apoyo al desarrollo de la lengua para los estudiantes multilingües, lo cual es excelente. Sin embargo, me pregunto si los especialistas en alfabetización apoyarán a los estudiantes multilingües en particular y usarán esta nueva tecnología que es Elevation.
From what I understand, there is a literacy specialist in the majority of schools, and that the district will implement new technology to analyze the evaluation data and to support language development for those multilingual students, which I think is excellent. However, I'm wondering if those literacy specialists will support multilingual students in particular, and if they'll be using this new technology called Elevation.
Y la última parte. Y si no, ¿quién será la persona? ¿Quién será la persona en la escuela responsable de seguir el progreso? Brindar apoyo y comunicarse con las familias. Los datos y la tecnología son excelentes, pero nada puede reemplazar al personal del plantel escolar, que se preocupa por los estudiantes y sus familias y está comprometido con el éxito de los estudiantes a largo plazo. Y yo les digo, este es el tiempo de invertir. Inviertan en nuestros estudiantes, que son el futuro y la esperanza del país. Agradezco su tiempo y sé que buscarán la equidad.
And if not, who will be the person that's responsible to follow up on progress, bring support, and communicate with the families? The data and the technology are excellent, but nothing can replace the staff at a school campus that worries about students and their families and is committed to their success long term. That's why I'm asking you and letting you know that now is the time to invest in our students who are the future and the hope of this country. So thank you for your time and for trying to get equity.
Thank you. Gracias. Next, we have Marisela García. Buenas tardes, bienvenida.
Buenas noches, miembro de la Junta, Superintendente Baker y el personal. Mi nombre es Marisela García, soy madre y estudiante del distrito de Long Beach, miembro de Latinos in Action. Estoy aquí para dar mi comentario sobre el app 2223.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Baker, and staff. My name is Marisela Garcia, and I'm a mother of students here in Long Beach District, as well as a member of Latinos in Action. And I'm here to give my comments regarding LCAP 2223.
Me gustaría ver más inversiones en el aprendizaje multilingüe, porque se necesita desesperadamente para abordar las disparidades académicas de los estudiantes aprendices de inglés y otros estudiantes que no reciben un buen apoyo en el distrito.
I would like to see more investments in multilingual learning because it is desperately needed to address the academic disparities that students that are English learners and other students who do not receive good support in the district.
El app refleja números que dan tristeza para los aprendices en inglés. Porcentajes elevados que reflejan la falta de programas de intervención, aceleración y tutorías en estudiantes aprendices en inglés, que corren el riesgo de ser aprendices de inglés a largo plazo, como en el caso de mis estudiantes, que desde primaria estuvieron como aprendices y hasta el 8º grado, 9º, 10º grado de high school. Pónganse como meta que no más tarde del 5º grado los niños sean reclasificados. Me pregunto por qué. ¿Cuál es el motivo que ustedes estén recortando $500,000 en comparación con el año pasado?
The LCAP reflects numbers that are sad for those English learners, elevated percentages that reflect the lack of intervention programs and acceleration and tutoring for English learner students who run the risk of being long-term English learners, like in the case of my students. Since elementary school, they've been put as learners, English learners, up until 8th grade, they were reclassified. Set as a goal that no later than 5th grade, the children will be reclassified. So I asked myself, why? What's the reason that you're all cutting $500,000 compared to last year?
Es casi seguro que el distrito recibirá millones en fondos continuos adicionales a partir del próximo año, por lo que les pido que restablezcan y aumenten los fondos para los estudiantes multilingües y otros estudiantes marginados y sus familias, por el ejemplo, invirtiendo en personas de la escuela para realizar un seguimiento del progreso, brindar apoyo y comunicarse con las familias. Inviertan en nuestros estudiantes, inviertan inteligentemente en ellos, busquen la equidad. Gracias.
It is almost a sure thing that the district will receive millions of dollars in continuous and additional funds starting next year. That's why I'm asking you all to reestablish and increase funding for multilingual students and other students that are marginalized and their families. For example, invest in school staff that can provide follow-up with regards to the progress, so it can bring and provide support and communicate with families. So invest in our students, invest smartly in them, and look for equity. Thank you.
Gracias, thank you. Next we have Mariela Salgado. Good evening. Welcome.
I get 6 minutes. No, I
If
don't.
you're going to do it in Spanish, Mariela.
Puedo tratar, pero no lo voy a hacer. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Mariela Salgado. I'm a Parks Commissioner, a school site volunteer, and member of the Long Beach Education Connection, and parent of 2 elementary-aged children. For the past 4 years since my oldest entered kindergarten, here next to me, I have volunteered hundreds of hours, if not probably over 1,000 hours, supporting our schools, monitoring budgets, and attending these board meetings to advocate for our children across the district. When I went to elementary school, we had physical science lab, life science lab, computer lab, PE, arts and music. And in high school, I had drafting, auto shop, and a number of options for electives. For what much of today, even after close to $500 million of COVID relief funds, we're not seeing in the classroom during school hours. This past school year, many parents across the district have spent countless hours volunteering to fundraise for these types of programs. So today I want to uplift enrichment programming in the LCAP. Even in the midst of another hectic year, parents across the district fundraise nonstop to support enrichment programming in their schools. We keep hearing that school sites are receiving enrichment funds, yet the district's own response in the community questions regarding the LCAP, it states, and I quote, "At most sites, enrichment looks like interventions in order to support academic needs of students." I agree. We should support students' academic needs, but with the additional hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief funds and the reserves that are close to $400 million, why aren't we able to dedicate funds for enrichment programs, not after school or before school, but in school when it can have the most impact? Parents keep asking for it year over year in the thought exchange, in community input, in community meetings. Enrichment programming and electives is what we're looking for. Yet the LCAP does not include, and in fact, it did not change from the May draft to today's final plan. There were no additional investments changed, even though there were significant engagement activities during that time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our last public comment is Michael Ball.
Hi.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Baker, and staff. My name is Michael Ball. I'm a community member, and I'm here to give public comment on agenda item 19.3, adoption of the LCAP, and provide support for the Long Beach Education Connection. On behalf of the Long Beach Education Connection, I would like to uplift and restate my support for all 4 of the 2022-23 budget recommendations. I brought copies. I know we've sent copies to all the board members and the superintendent and the deputy superintendent, but in case any other interested district staff would like a copy, or if it's possible to submit into record at this time, we have some copies. Yes, I would like to restate support for all 4 of these to meet critical student needs, especially at high-need schools, to target students who need it the most and who are consistently left behind and left out of budget increases, programs, and services as they affect at the school site level. At this moment, I would especially like to uplift on behalf of community members who could not be here or are not here today, the Black Student Achievement Initiative and the district's continuation to support, or continued support of this initiative, including the $750,000 investment. And the community is very much looking forward to how this money will be used to support students through this initiative, and how the money from last year has been used and will be used to support students in the future, and how the unused money will be carried over as well. Again, we would like to thank the district for their continued support, and we hope that as the budget reserves are being determined on how the May revision and the other state budget money is used in the fall, that we can see that money goes to continue to support all 4 of these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public testimony on items on the agenda. Dr. Baker, I know we have an LCAP report coming up. If we could ask staff to highlight some of the areas that were brought up today in public comment. I wrote down 3. I know that Ms. Takahashi is going to talk about budget in relation to that. So I wrote down mental health support as one of the areas brought up in public comment, enrichment programming, and support for our emerging bilinguals. And specifically, there was reference to a $500,000 reduction to our emerging bilinguals or English learners. So if that could be addressed when we cover that, that would be great. Thank you. So we will move on to public testimony on items not listed on our agenda. And our first speaker is, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, if you could help me with the pronunciation, Abrar Al-Zabin. Good evening, welcome. Hello. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
It's Abrar Al-Zabin.
Abrar Al-Zabin, thank you.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be speaking about implementing dual enrollment classes onto the high school GPA. AP and honor courses are known to provide students with a GPA boost. Having taken concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment classes while in high school should also provide students with a GPA boost in a similar sense to AP and honor courses. Taking college classes while in high school provides students with insight regarding what college and university is like. As classes are taken with college professors in a college setting. Dual enrollment classes provide students with time management skills through the rigor of juggling both high school and college classes. And through taking college classes, students are able to discover possible interests that help them choose a major or a career in the future. Numerous school districts provide students with the opportunity of having dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment weighed onto the high school GPA in a similar sense to AP and honor courses. Having dual enrollment courses weighed onto the GPA provides colleges and universities with insight that students have challenged themselves and that we are invested in our education. I have started a petition a couple days before the end of the school year, and I have collected 138 signatures. And I believe that having the insight of other students from various schools throughout the district would provide the full insight of students' perspectives regarding this topic. I am requesting to have dual enrollment courses implemented on the high school GPA for thousands of students that are currently attending the schools in Long Beach Unified and for the upcoming schools. Also, for the petitions, I have the names of the students. Okay.
We're happy to receive those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Gilmore. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Tim Gilmore. I started in 2012, I started a Long Beach Poly Alumni Association. And tonight I want to talk to you about, this is my fourth time I've been speaking about this. I want to talk to you about Long Beach Poly football and getting back the high school games at a limited amount of schedule. Again, Poly football has a huge history of having football players, Deshaun Jackson, Juju Smith, Willie McGinnis, Earl McCall, Dee Andrews. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I think the really important thing about it is not just with the athletes themselves, but what kind of impact they actually have as far as having on the kids who aren't stars, the kids who need help, the kids that are really looking for a way out of their situation. And these kids are very important. Coach Don Narford, who's coached many years, has been there a long time, once put a kid aside and has been really trying to help him out all this time. And one of his proteges was a gentleman by the name of Dwight Ford, class of 1979. And he basically said, you know what, if it wasn't for Coach Don Narford, I probably would have been in prison, believe it or not. And there are many examples of that. And I think that's really the important thing to really understand. It's not just the star athletes, it's the program itself and helping out students and such. It's really important. And so I like to definitely rethink the whole plan here as far as how we can do this and make this happen. It's very important and stuff. And I also want to thank too. We had a really successful Juneteenth, and one of our Poly alums, Keith Lilly, really did a great job in putting it on. And I'm fortunate to be associated with him and his help and a lot of the other Poly alums. So I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tasha Felder. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, board members. I'm here to practice what I teach my students, to stand up for themselves when no one else will. My reputation as a special education teacher, which was unblemished for more than 10 years, 3 here in LBUSD, has been stained by my time at Bancroft. The day after I emailed my admin that I would be flying to New York for an unspecified time to care for a very sick parent, I was called into the office with no prior notice or representation and told that I would no longer be allowed to work for Long Beach School District as a teacher for reasons still undisclosed to me. I believe that my being forced to choose between resigning or being fully released within a few days' time after being in a position for less than 6 months was unwarranted because the RSP model that I was in was not clearly explained, training was not provided in the science curriculum that I was expected to teach, and my prior evaluations from principals who I'd worked for were not considered. I've successfully worked in many challenging classroom environments, RSP at McBride after the pandemic hit. I helped my students stay online, created schedules for work completion at Riley during the pandemic. I kept my students engaged online and even made home visits to deliver supplies and prizes, and I also had high daily attendance. I was interviewed and hired for an RS position with Bancroft last year. It was explained that I would be co-teaching in science and another English or math class. I expressed my reservation, but I was given a pitch that the position was not clear and to be a brand new model for everyone. I was offered a 2-year contract, and again, not clearly defined. And although I had several interviews lined up that week, I was discouraged because I was told that competition among schools was discouraged. So I was not able to go to interviews that were already set up for me by my principal and also McBride, which I had worked for before. I was never given the formal training I was promised. I taught RSP plus 2 special education classes in science, in addition to co-teaching 3 other classes. I did not have aides as told. I worked well beyond my contracted hours. I had the highest number of high-profile cases at the school. I held 50 plus IEPs for 28 students. My coworkers asked that I be allowed to teach RSP solely, but the request was never acknowledged. I was told that by the principal that it would not be good for her to ask for training on my behalf, that it would not look good for me, so I would need to do it myself. Students were constantly moved into my classes that were in self-contained classes, in and out, which caused a lot of mayhem and disruption. Because of the lack of structure at our school, my IEP students, my RSP students, their grades lowered. My health and well-being suffered because of this. There was an exodus of special education teachers over the years. I'm not the first one. I'm not the last. My entire team is no longer at the school, minus 1 person. I pray that real change.
Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening.
Dr. Baker, is that something we can follow up with? Mr. Zaid? Thank you. The last public comment that I have is from Ken Stroud. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. President, Superintendent, board members. There needs to be a stronger cell phone policy that is enforceable, as my sons take them out in class and use them relatively at will, as do most other students. I understand from teachers and counselors that they catch heck from the students as well as the parents when trying to enforce any rules in class. I feel that at a minimum there needs to be some sort of mark tray or some sort of other item that the students can place their phones in that can be supervised by the teachers, perhaps behind them, not in front of them. I have another concern. I have several. Students are pretty much free to come and go on and off campus as they please, and personnel are pretty much powerless to stop them other than verbally admonishing them. At Wilson, they can walk right out the front entrance without having to stop and confirm that they have a passing period on their ID card. There are multiple doors there and only one attendant to the right of the first door. They can also pretend to walk across Eximino as if they were going to class on the other side, but instead leave school. The completely incomprehensible explanation I received from one of the two vice principals there was that high school students are like college students. They have the ability to make decisions about going to class and staying on campus or not. I strongly disagree, as they are not adults, but minors under the care of their parents and school personnel while they're on the premises. College students, of course, are generally over the age of 18 and are no longer considered minors. At the beginning of the school year, in 2021, my older son ditched his Spanish class for almost a month and a half before I found out. I only found out when I received a correspondence indicating he was failing. The school's teacher and attendance office never contacted me prior to this to notify me, nor his mother, that he had been ditching the entire time. When I questioned the administration about it, I was told that they had not set up a system yet for reporting absences and seemed to allude that the school and the district were kind of going easy because of returning students post-COVID and not having a structure or routine the past year. Lack of enforcement of the rules and regulations early on in the school year set the stage for students not taking their responsibilities seriously and led to continuation of the above issues for an extended period of time. I feel, as do unnamed personnel at Wilson and other parents I've spoken to, that this lax attitude has resulted in poor student performance and no respect for the teachers who are trying to teach and have to do so around whatever the child would rather be doing in class. I observed my student in one class, and he did not act out while I was there, but several of the other students could care less that I and the vice principal were both there observing and continued to talk and be disruptive. I want to say hats off to Miss Neal for being very effective in ignoring their antics and not letting them get her off track, and also warning them. My overall impression that I have from the teachers and the administration at Wilson is one of exhaustion and reduced hope. I certainly hope and expect that this situation will be much better next year. I frankly put the responsibility at the top, that is the school board and to some extent the administration at Wilson. There needs to be more guidance, more support, more tools, and more enforcement, and the board needs to set the standards very high.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public testimony for items not on the agenda today. I want to thank all of our community members that came out and provided public comment on both items on the agenda and not on the agenda. As we've shared before here, your public comment is important. We're listening intently, and we appreciate you staying civically engaged with our district. We will move on to our staff reports and begin with item 15.1, Local School Wellness Policy Triannual Assessment. Dr. Kale?
All right. Good evening. Just to kick us off, and as a reminder, every district that receives federal funding for school lunches and breakfast programs is required to complete a triennial assessment. So by triennial, we mean every 3 years. We got an extra year because of COVID this last time, so it's been actually 4 years since the last one. And as part of that process, we're required to provide a report, which you have a copy of in front of you and we'll be sharing. That report is also posted on our district website and all of our school websites as well. And at the same time, we also take a look at our school wellness board policy to see if that needs to be updated. And while it met all of the legal requirements, the council decided to make a few slight adjustments, so that item will be coming up later on the agenda for you this evening. I want to say thank you publicly to Pamela Secchi, who came out of retirement to help us with this project. It was a very large project, and we couldn't have done it without her help, so I want to make sure she gets that credit. So as far as what we're going to talk about today, Carmen is going to make her way up to the podium there, and she's going to provide you with the Local School Wellness Policy Triennial Assessment update. She comes to you as a member of the School Wellness Council. So that's the role that she's going to be playing. And when she's finished, I will provide an update on the school wellness staffing work that we're doing, our health instructional materials, and give you a little preview of some prevention lessons that we're giving to students. So I'm going to turn it over to Carmen, and I'm going to walk you this so that you can advance the slides.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hello, School Wellness Council member.
Hello, Dr. Benitez. Good evening, Board President, board members, executive staff, our stakeholders. Thank you. At home watching. So let's go ahead and let's give you an overview of what our council has been doing. The local school wellness policy components are listed there before you, and so the why. We know that the board recognizes the link between wellness and academic success. What I do want to know is what Christy stated, that it hasn't been looked at in quite a bit. And so the term wellness has evolved into what we understand it a bit differently currently. And so keep that in mind as we're looking through some of these components. These really are promotions of healthy lifestyle, but the policy that we bring for you for review later will encompass more of the way that we see it now. In addition, like Christy stated, it's required for districts participating in federal school breakfast and lunch programs. Here are the policy requirements. There's wellness leadership that Dr. Kale will talk to us a little bit more later. There's an annual public update, which is the one-pager, if you will, that's in front of you that summarizes the findings of the triennial assessment. The Wellness Council, specifically public involvement that occurred through a survey, and the findings of the triennial assessment. And so our next two pages actually encompass individuals who made up the council. And so you'll see that we have parents, we have teachers, we have nutrition services, staff, district offices. One of our very own board members was part of that council. And on that second page, you'll note that we had students who were a part of the council. And so we really are wanting to elevate student voice this year. We continue to talk about it. We do know that there may have been a little bit of a conflict with school schedules. And so we'll continue to work with our students to make sure that their voices are heard throughout. Now, these are the four components in the triennial assessment. And so that first component, our Wellness Council compared LBUSD's current policy to two exemplar models. And so the changes that you'll see are an enhanced commitment to a comprehensive student well-being, which is reflected in the policy presented tonight. More specifically, the way that we talked about thinking about wellness as a whole for our students. Secondly is that compliance, and that was measured via the survey. And we had 131 students that participated, 78 principals, 94 teachers, and 7 parents. Component number 3 entails our goals and our action plans. And so using the using survey data, our council analyzed goals of the policy to measure the progress and identify priorities for the action plan. And component number 4 is the one-pager, which is a report that's being shared tonight. And as Dr. Kale alluded, it's posted on our district webpage and is shared with our school sites. Now, our survey assessment data, we note that there was elevated student voice, but we also noted an area for continued effort, and that would be to engage our parents. And we'll continue to do that as we move forward. Although the survey data was overwhelmingly positive, for brevity tonight, we did want to select data points that show where the needs are. And specifically, this slide shows our administrator survey needs in the 3 levels. And so these are some of the highlights that you can note. We have our PE teacher survey highlights, 76 responses from our middle and high school PE teachers. And so again, keeping in mind that this data is what drove the action plans and what we will find in this policy. There's also our middle school health teacher highlights. We had 18 responses. And some of these, again, will be evident in the data that was collected. You'll see it reflected in the new policy. specifically too much for one grade level and needs to be repeated at the high school level. Dr. Kale will highlight some of those areas. Our student survey highlights from both our high school and our middle schools. And we can know it looks as though establishing a climate of preventing bullying and harassment is something that we've really been honing in on in the last couple of years, and so even seeing an increase in that. And our parent survey highlights. As noted, we need to do a better job of engaging our parents. We're able to reach our DLAC, our CAC, our PTA, and some of our DCAC parents, and so these were the responses from those individuals. And so back to that one-pager, the Triennial Assessment Report. What we want to do is take a look at those 4 boxes. And so really the way that you want to take a look at it is it's that summary of the assessment results. And so in the upper right-hand corner, what we're still working on, that's the action plan. We see the goals, those were the goals that were met. You have a summary of what that nutrition policy looks like. And so this new policy will be adopted, will encompass more of what we understand the term wellness to be, which are aspects that support the student as a whole. We also have the entire policy, which is a compliance document. It's very dense, but it's also available upon request if you'd want to read through that. But that's why we have the one-pager that is the public document that provides that summary of all of those areas. Now, Christy's going to continue, and she's going to go ahead and lead us into some of the wellness staffing and curriculum that lies ahead.
All right, so as Carmen mentioned, one of the things that we need to be thinking about is how we staff this work. So currently, we've been using Brett Wiley, who is our science and health curriculum leader. So he's been doing the bulk of the health work. And then Lisa Ulmer does PE curriculum along with middle school sports and high school sports. So as we started to rethink what we needed to accomplish in wellness and kind of reprioritizing this work, we've established a new office, and those are our new staff members. They have not started yet, although I have seen Pecha this week at training. So I'd like to introduce to you virtually Dr. Esther Death. She is a school wellness coordinator. She comes to us from an AP position at Jordan High School. And then Mr. Pecha Vader, he will be the PE health coach, and he comes to us from K-8 School Robinson. So together they are going to oversee the rest of the school wellness policy work. They will continue with the next triennial assessment. They'll oversee the council. They'll do the curriculum work for health, nutrition, PE, and prevention lessons. So in addition to that, they'll collaborate on the social and emotional learning aspects because, as Carmen mentioned, we're expanding sort of idea around wellness and what that means to us. Thank you to whoever's changing those. Thank you, Carmen. All right. On the health instructional materials update, the team that I just introduced will be building on the work that's come before them, and so I want to give a shout out to Brett Wiley and his team and Angie Gonzalez for their leadership around the health curriculum updates. So specifically, we've got new 5th grade growth and development lessons, and those lessons were provided to students this year. They're grade appropriate, medically accurate. They use inclusive language as required by the California Healthy Youth Act. And there were 3 lessons presented. So those lessons were, the first one was physical, emotional, and social changes during puberty. The second one was human reproduction, and the third one was hygiene. So those lessons were taught all together, which is a change from the past. In the past, students were separated by gender. And we provided professional development for all 5th grade teachers, not only in the curriculum, but also on the California Healthy Youth Act, so that they would feel more comfortable in understanding what their responsibilities were. And then we provided a virtual parent preview of the curriculum, and we had several hundred parents attend that. So it was very well attended. As far as 7th grade goes, Last year, we updated that curriculum, but this year we were able to provide every 7th grade teacher with some additional training on that curriculum and training in the California Healthy Youth Act. We also developed some support documents to supplement the very outdated health textbook. Not sure if you noticed that on the student slide, but the students and the teachers told us, wow, those are some old health textbooks. So
Books are older than the students, is what I read, Dr. Kell.
They're very old. So we've got a committee that's together, or being put together this summer to begin the adoption process. So we should be bringing to you a new health textbook for adoption. And I want to give a shout out to the folks who are working on that now. Brett's leading that, and he'll be transitioning that work to Dr. Death and Mr. Vader. And then as far as student wellness and prevention lessons, so I want to say thank you to Robin Samana, who has also come out of retirement to help us in this area. So Robin Samana is working with a team of teachers and counselors who are looking at some curriculum and helping us make some decisions about how we want to present some required student prevention lessons. These are all required by board policy, and so students must be provided these lessons each year. So we're updating the bullying and sexual harassment lessons that we've been using, making sure they're in compliance with CHIA, and then adding new, because there was new legislation around suicide prevention. So there's a whole team working on that. It's a cross-departmental team. It's made up of OCIPD, OSSS, HRS, and then the 3-level offices coming together to figure out exactly how do we deploy all of these lessons to every single student in our district. So that is some work that's coming in the fall that we are very excited about. And we'll be coming back to you in August with to ask for your support in adopting that curriculum. And that's it from me, so I'm happy to entertain any questions or...
I have a very quick one.
Sure.
CHIA?
California Healthy Youth Act.
It's not the little stuff, the healthy stuff that comes in our juices.
I don't think you, that's CHIA.
And just one more clarifying question. You talked about that these are required by board policy, which is reflective of state law as well. So it isn't just
Correct,
board
right.
policy, it is compliance with state law.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm glad that Dr. Death is working on wellness in our district.
I know we got some chuckles over that one, but she's amazing.
I have a question for Ms. Hernandez. So you referenced trying to build on getting more input and feedback from parents. I see that you reached out to DLAC, CAC, PTA. Any thoughts on where we might get some more parent involvement, given that it's usually parents that come back to us and ask, why are we teaching this or why aren't we teaching that? So any thoughts on how to expand our engagement with parents?
Sure. I know something that we did was we deployed a survey. And I also know that it was deployed at a time where we were asking for quite a few other surveys. Specifically, I recall a DCAC meeting where we said there's a wellness policy, there's the board is asking for visionary input, there's, X, Y, and Z. And so it was really a time where we were really asking for a heavy survey, I guess, feedback, right? And so I would say moving away from surveys and being able to focus more on our individual groups, maybe some in-person interactions would be helpful to really garner some of that feedback. We've heard our parents say, if we can't engage during the survey, can there be somebody that we can speak to that can gather that feedback? And we've certainly said, sure, we can go, we can listen, we can take some of those notes and use that as well. But yes, I know that we need to do better, and we will. Thank you.
And we do see that as one of the important roles that Dr. Death will perform. So she can go out to all of the various committees, get feedback that way. And again, we were doing this kind of under an intense timeline, having to meet all of our compliance deadlines. So as we roll out the new office, we're going to be able to put systems in place and do much better.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And then we have our community engagement guru and Zara here as well. So kind of thinking through, we did ask for a lot of input on a lot of surveys at the same time. Thank you. So next we have our Item 15.2, our 2022-2023 Budget and Local Control Accountability Plan. And Dr. Baker, my sort of request in terms of lifting up certain areas also comes in the spirit of this is the last chance that we have this year for public input on our LCAP, knowing full well, as you've stressed before in our meetings, that this isn't an end-all be-all, right? That we continue to seek input and feedback, and that ultimately where we want the money to end up are in the priority areas that are identified, but that this can be finessed and nuanced in the upcoming academic year. So, Ms. Takahashi.
Well, we're very happy to be at this moment with you tonight recommending approval of the school district budget for next year, as well as the local control accountability plan. I'm joined tonight by members of the BEST team, Carmen Hernandez, George Tsai, James Suarez, Dr. Lucy Salazar, and Viva Mogi. So tonight will be a review of information on the budget that was delivered to you on June 1st. There is no update, but budget deliberations at the state level continue. They have yet to come to an agreement on the state budget. So we're asking you to approve the budget this evening, knowing that the budget will likely need to be revised when the state budget is finally signed. When that budget is signed, we have 45 days to get revisions approved on that budget, and we'll bring that before you. After that, we move on to our first interim, second interim reports, and then we roll right back into budget development for the following year. So budgeting is a continual process with many opportunities to provide the status to you and the community on the budget, as well as seeking feedback on the budget. So again, themes for this budget adoption. The budget incorporates higher than expected state revenues based on the May revision proposals. We have a cost of living adjustment for next year, a 6.5%, 5.6%. COLA is a year-over-year increase to funding, and 5.38 for the following year, and a more modest 4% for 24-25. But there some economic trends present some uncertainty and some concerns, obviously with sky-high inflation, supply chain issues, stock market uncertainty, as well as just general concerns about an impending recession. So that we keep that at the forefront of our mind as we move forward. The budget incorporates significant one-time revenues. $92 million is incorporated into our budget in the one-time discretionary block grant. Enrollment and attendance continue to be risk areas, and I'll speak to that in a moment. And again, funding has been coordinated to support the Learning Acceleration and Support Plan. We will continue with activities supported by multiple funding sources, including federal COVID relief funds and funds that you'll see in the Local Control Accountability Plan. So enrollment and cost of living adjustments are foundational to our budget. Each percentage drop in enrollment is approximately $7 to $8 million of loss in funding for the school district. We've seen a steady decline from a high actually in 2003, 2004 of approximately 96,000 students. There's been a steady march downward in terms of our enrollment. We were trending about 2% last year and the year before, or this year and the year before. We saw a 3% enrollment decline. So we are projecting for our revenue purposes, a 2.5% enrollment decline. Attendance has also presented itself as an issue. We had historically had about a 95 to 96% attendance rate. We saw a 90% attendance rate this year due to COVID. So we are projecting just a slow recovery over the next few years of our attendance by 1% annually. We've also seen, in terms of our unduplicated student count, a reduction in that percentage. Unduplicated students represent economically disadvantaged, our English language learners, our foster and our homeless youth, 63% this year. And in 18-19, that percentage was approximately 70%. So we're experiencing a real demographic shift in terms of the population of our students. Of course, these are planning estimates, and they may change as more information becomes known. So when we look at the macro level of our budget, assessing our fiscal health, We look at our ending balances. This is funding left over after the fiscal year is done. Our ending balance is expected to rise again to approximately $476 million in 2022-23. That's in the budget. And just addressing Dr. Benitez's question, how do you explain this contrast with some of these concerning trends in terms of enrollment and attendance and unduplicated account? So we can try to explain that. In our ending balance for next year, we have that $92 million of one-time funding, and you'll see that represented in the dotted gray line in this chart. So that would be the ending balance without that $92 million. We have some favorable COLA assumptions. Again, the 6.5% next year, the 5.38% in the following year, and we'll see those if those COLAs actually materialize. But most importantly, there's been hold harmless provisions afforded to districts. We're allowed to use 1920 ADA, average daily attendance, in years 20 and 21 and 21-22. And for next year's revenue, we're allowed to use a 3-year average. And that 3-year average would obviously be heavily weighted towards those hold harmless years. So if we're looking at it, we're allowed to book for revenue purposes about approximately 6,000 ADA that we would not have been able to book under previous funding models. But you'll see over time that effect of that hold harmless provisions begin to wane, and we see deficit spending beginning to emerge when expenses begin to exceed revenues. So again, these are projections based on the information that we have today, and these ending balance projections may change. So again, with our ending balances contains $92 million of proposed one-time discretionary block grant. The ending balances really serve as a cushion and allow us to be more strategic in addressing adverse fiscal circumstances. So when revenue becomes tighter, the ending balances allows us to maintain staffing. So we will be drawing down, in fact, deficit spending, allowing ourselves more time to enact fiscal stabilization plans. And so this is what we are in fact asking you to codify with our resolution authorizing the commitment of the ending balance that we have before you tonight with adoption of the budget. So we are under a new requirement that sets a maximum uncommitted reserve threshold. Therefore, we're asking you to commit reserves in excess of this threshold to continuity or preservation of staffing. And that's what that $400 million is.
Ms. Takahashi, can I just
course.
Clarify that?
Yes.
And again, I'm coming from the perspective that on paper,
yes.
It looks like we have more money.
Yes.
But in terms of projections, ADA is lower, we're losing unduplicated students,
Right.
and overall enrollments
Right.
are decreasing. So as I understand it, what we're asking to do is to commit a big percentage of what's in the ending balance right now, given that we have a scenario where we would have decrease in students,
Yes.
so that we don't have to basically lay off staff.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
what we're talking about here,
Yes.
protecting jobs of
Exactly.
employees. So on paper, it looks like we have a lot of money.
Yes.
It doesn't look like, we do have a lot of money,
Right.
but we're committing that money so that we would prevent potential layoffs.
Correct.
Given the decrease in enrollments and ADA.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Very well stated. Thank you. So here's our familiar display. This is our revenue budget by plans and by programs. At the bottom, we have our foundational funding, the local control funding formula, our base grant, and our supplemental and concentration grant, which are covered through the local control accountability plan. We have our state grants and entitlements, our one-time discretionary block grant of $92 million, our special education state funding, which was incorporated into the SELPA plan that was approved by the board a few meetings ago, instructional materials, and we have the expanded learning opportunity grant of $17 million, of which the plan will be before you tonight for approval. Above that, we have federal grants and entitlements, our title programs, our ESSER, that one-time funding, that we are recognizing this year to support our Learning Acceleration Support Plan, as well as our special education, the federal portion of our special education program. And the Learning Acceleration Support Plan bridges multiple levels of this pyramid. And so when we look at support for emerging bilinguals, our enrichment, our mental health services, we ask that the public refer not only to the LCAP, but also to the Learning Acceleration Support Plan, which is the district's plan to meet the social, emotional, and academic needs of our students.
Yeah, so if you could just clarify that one more time, because I know that there's a concern that we are not, that we need to allocate money specifically within the LCAP. Can you talk about how the LCAP is a portion of the dollars that we spend on multiple interventions, and how our Learning Acceleration Support Plan brings in some of those things that people are concerned about that aren't specifically called out in the LCAP as a compliance document?
Yes, so I'm going to go into a little more detail about the specific questions that were asked, but really important that the first few slides that Ms. Takahashi has used in the last, I think, 10 meetings, just that reminder of the budget cycle being, there are significant milestones, but it is a year-round cycle for us, as is the opportunity to incorporate feedback and input from students and from members of the community. And so when we look at this slide, you'll see that the data that's incoming from all kinds of surveys and all kinds of engagement is used to inform multiple plans, and this slide itself represents multiple plans. It's also an opportunity for us to think about maximizing restricted dollars and funds that have deadlines associated with them to then benefit from the least restricted funds. And so to be specific, we're not sure about the question about the reduction of $500,000 that associates with English learners. However, I'll make a public assumption that there were no reductions, so that another fund paid for some of the services for English learners, which is not represented in the LCAP. Again, going back to maximizing restricted dollars or program dollars or grant funds or funds with deadlines first, so that we have the least restricted to spend in the way that the district can serve its students. So specific to the question around enrichment, going back to this notion that it's not all in the LCAP. Some things you're going to hear tonight, you're going to hear Mr. Moskovitz make a presentation about the $17 million that's reflected here in the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant that will have a site allocation for enrichment, site by site. Each site will get an allocation, and there will be district-wide programming that's enrichment-oriented. As well as a continuation, so not in the LCAP, but in our Learning Acceleration and Support Plan, a continuation of summer enrichment and accelerated learning, which are extensive programs this summer. I'll name some of them in my superintendent's report today. And then schools that make decisions about their own LCFF allocation as well as title funds. Many of them have supplemental programs. When you look up this pyramid, they receive site funds as well. And so while it is the case that we don't have an office around enrichment, there are many opportunities for schools and for students across the district to have enrichment. Specific to the questions about English learners, a few things beyond the LCAP that I'd just like to highlight. In the Learning Acceleration and Support Plan, this year's plan has expanded services, and Dr. Kale and her team have presented about the multilingual office on a number of occasions. That office will be expanded further in the year to come. That will include teachers on special assignment and a manager that will be monitoring compliance of, and we heard some of the comments about wanting students to make progress towards redesignation. That office will be expanded to include not just teachers who support teachers and coach teachers, but also who monitor and help ensure that compliance, the aspects of monitoring students' performance, are taken into consideration. You do see almost $1 million investment in this year's LCAP for the product called Elevation. And Elevation, you'll hear more about it, I think, in a few moments, but is a platform that's used to ensure that teachers have quality materials and access to supports for English learners at the classroom level, and it gives our district staff data that assists in the redesignation process for our English learners. So we heard about that, the concern about LTELs or long-term English learners. This is a tool that we think going into the future is going to help us support our English learners. Let's see. And lastly, there was a question about social emotional support. So a couple things that don't appear in the LCAP that would be important for the public and for everyone to know, that we will be expanding our wellness center. So this year, every high school had a wellness center. Next year, we're moving the concept of wellness centers, but with some specific differences to serve middle school students. And so you'll hear more about that, but we are in the hiring process for staff in the form of social workers and counselors to support the expansion of our wellness centers, although it doesn't appear in the LCAP. Additionally, the expansion of contracts. So Dr. Simon's office oversees a number of contracts that are for providers in the field that we will be expanding to increase mental health services. Not long-term staff as we watch the long-term health of our district, but contract services. And then there was a question about training. So in my superintendent's report, I'll also talk about some really system-wide training that's taking place. It's an investment, doesn't show up in the LCAP, but it is about multi-tiered systems of support, trauma-informed education. And so while it doesn't appear there is a great investment, both in resources and time and effort being put into social emotional support and the wellness of our students.
And we'll turn it over to Carmen for the LCAP.
Thank you. So thank you, Yumi and Dr. Baker, for further clarifying with us how the entire budget has been allocated for the coming year. And so now we're going to transition into Lcap Development specifically, and the team and I will share how budget allocations are highlighted in the Lcap for programs and services. So the last couple of times that we've been here, we've highlighted the 5 goals and measures found in the Lcap, budget allocations for each of those goals, and with the help of our executive staff, we've been able to feature programs in the Lcap. And George will come up and he's going to further highlight programs that haven't been shared in previous meetings. George?
Hi, good evening. So we've been using this slide to highlight the proposed actions and metrics to gauge our effectiveness in meeting the 5 LCAP goals. Community input during the engagement activities focused on the continuing effects of the pandemic, and as such, many of the actions in the LCAP reflect a continuation of last year's efforts to support students. Oh, sorry. Oh no, what am I doing? You didn't see any of this yet? I'm going back. Okay. For actions pertaining to the first goal of basic services, teachers receive assistance and support to strengthen the quality of classroom instruction. And plant maintenance and operations support schools in maintaining facilities in good repair and working order. For the second goal of safe and inviting places, we shared the parent outreach and engagement efforts of Parent University and the expansion of restorative practices to promote relationship-centered schools. Goal number 3, academic progress, contains the largest amount of programs and services. We highlighted a number of the listed areas in past presentations, and this evening, you've heard from Dr. Baker about elevation, so we're gonna have Dr. Kale talk a little bit about this new platform that we've added to assist teachers and leaders in ensuring English learners' success.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know how many of you remember or were here back in 2020, but I was in the research office and came here and gave a presentation on this new app we were developing in research because we were so excited about finally being able to track the progress of our English learners. Any of you remember that? That was 2020. And The good news is that Elevation, in the meantime, refined their product and has created a product that does exactly what we envisioned and maybe a lot more than we envisioned. So I think that's something very exciting for us. At least I'm really excited about it. So as Dr. Baker mentioned, it provides a data platform, but it also provides strategies for teachers. So when we think about the data platform, just think of like a dashboard. So if I'm a teacher or a principal or someone in the central office, including those English learner support coaches that we're going to be deploying, we can pull up student data. We can look at it at the student level, we can look at it at a grade level, at the site level, at the district level, and we can look at their LPAC data and information in a way that allows teachers to do something very actionable with that data. So on the strategies side of the platform, a teacher can take a look at that data alongside iReady data, and we have not ever had the ability to do that. So they're going to be able to look at students' iReady data and look at their LPAC data, and from there go into a bank of strategies that will help them service those students. So this is going to be a game changer once we get staff really trained in how to use these resources. As far as I don't want to say compliance, but compliance is something that all school districts have to deal with. And part of the challenge right now around the reclassification process is it's very manual. It requires literally pieces of paper that get passed from people hand entering. This is going to take away that process entirely and replace it electronically so that any time we want, we can look to see who's on track toward reclassification and who's not. So those English learner support coaches will be going out to school sites and asking real tough questions about students who should be ready to reclassify and what's happening and what's going on and what kinds of support are they being provided. In addition, this doesn't have to do with Elevation, but those folks are also going to be able to provide support for working with parents of English learners. We know that our schools struggle to get their ELACs up and running and to really make them productive, so they're going to provide support in that area as well. What else do I want to say? On the next slide, I just want to say that we're in very good company. There's large districts across the state of California, and our friends and colleagues in Fresno Unified have been partnering us on this work, so it really helps us to kind of know where we're going when we've got other districts who've been leading the way. And in our Council for Great City Schools meetings, we know it's also being used nationally. So it's being used nationally and also locally here in the state of California. So we feel very good about it. And I'd like to just give a quick shout out to both Kevin Shillito from the Research Office and Angie Gonzalez from OCIPD, because they've been working together, tag teaming this to bring this to us.
Thanks, Dr. Kale.
Mr. Sai, can I just raise something with Dr. Kale, because I remember vividly 2 years ago and the anticipation that we had to bring Elevation to our district. So I think from a student success, student outcomes perspective, one of the things that I think would be important to align with what Dr. Chris Brown has been sharing with us in terms of student data is there's really 3 data points that we can sort of use, and not necessarily interchangeably, but you reference one, right? It's number of students that are reclassifying, all right? There's 2 others, though, and this is why it's so important to get sort of consistency with what data is shared. The other one is a reduction in our long-term English learners. Right, which has been systemically one of the biggest challenges that we faced, and it was raised here in public comment. The third, and this is why I'm so excited about alignment with our iReady, is that we know that our student success indicators for ELs, particularly these last 2 years, is a huge challenge in terms of how many of them are 2 or more years below grade level. So what I'm hoping for is some guidance for our board to sort of understand when we're talking about EL specifically, here is some data that we can look at midterm and long term to then, have conversations around, is Elevation doing, and I know it's not an end all be all, what we're paying $1 million for it to do, but then what other things are we sort of thinking about in terms of intervention, strategies that go to our broader goal around student success. So I'm hoping that those 3 data points, at least for consistency, can help not just guide our conversations, but help us think strategically to what other interventions are needed, what's working, what's not working, what's scaled up, ultimately to help us understand the data that's being shared with us.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that our department is working really closely with the research department on all of this work, and very excited about the data that we'll be able to share and bring to you, and really more excited about the in the classroom teaching moves that teachers will be able to make as a result of the data, because we've had a lot of data for a long time, but it's until we make it actionable, it doesn't really help us much. So that's what we're really looking forward to, is making that connection.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Sai, but I couldn't lose the moment, right, with the data that we have here.
Yeah, those were good points. Thanks, Dr. Benitez. Our final two goals, college and career readiness and active engagement, contains many supports for students, such as counseling, foster youth, and nursing services. With it remaining a top priority for our community, the focus on mental health is reflected in the continuation of the high school wellness centers and additional services. Now, to acknowledge and respond to the community input and feedback received during these months-long engagement processes, I bring to the podium Dr. Salazar.
Hello, good evening. So thank you, George. And as George said, let me see. Nope, wrong way. Sorry. Okay. We'd like to share with you for the remainder of our presentation. And we'd like to also share with our community who's watching us, and thank you to everyone who's made public comment today regarding the LCAP. We want everyone to know that we hold as a high priority our process, our budget engagement process, and particularly closing the feedback loop with our community who took so much time to give us their insights, to share their perspectives, to share with us their aspirations and hopes for their students that are within LBUSD. So that we, or you, can then develop a budget that would best support students through programs and services. So again, we want to say thank you to everyone who's participated with us. And in this slide that will be familiar to you, we have it to describe the budget engagement process as an ongoing process that yields needed perspectives, again, from all our stakeholders that will help us inform the development, as Dr. Baker had said, not just the LCAP, but several of our budgetary plans, such as those that are on our slide. So for example, the ELO, the Expanded Learning Opportunities, the LCAP, the LCAP that we're here for today, the LASP, the Learning Acceleration and Support Plan, and the ESSER 3, I need my glasses, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds. So those are some of the plans that have been developed as a result of the engagement that we've conducted. You'll notice that there's a new icon on the lower right-hand side. It's to demonstrate further how our engagement process is a continuous improvement, works within a continuous improvement cycle where we plan, we study, we take some time to study, and then eventually we take action. So it's our PDSA cycle within our engagement. So what actually took place during our engagement process for our team this year, and how are we closing that feedback loop? Because we hold that as a big priority. It's how we build trust. It's how we let the community know we're responsive to their time and to their needs, and as well as supporting the rest of our district. So in this next slide, which is so as you can tell at the start of our engagement PDSA cycle, our Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, it includes planning and gathering input so that we could analyze it, and eventually we will determine themes. And we've done that. We came back to you, we shared our thought exchange, we shared with you as well some of the rich info and input that our students gave us, and we were able to determine some themes or priorities that were communicated through our community. It also provides time for internal reflection within our departments. And within our own budget engagement team, we were able to reflect on some of the feedback that we received. And we asked ourselves, what needs further engagement, right? Some of the feedback we received, maybe we weren't clear, or we weren't clear on what the community was voicing. And we thought to ourselves, well, what could we do, right? So as part of our continuous improvement. So our team has planned to start this coming year by re-engaging with stakeholder groups based on that feedback. So some of the feedback is maybe things that we need more information on, or some things that we need clarity on. So some examples might include that we already re-engaged with our high school students, and we went back to them when we closed that feedback loop. We intend to go back to our high school students as well to just further explore some of the ideas that they shared. We also intend to go back and start the year by re-engaging with parents on questions that arose regarding our current programs. And so we look forward to continuing to involve our stakeholders to ensure that their concerns are consistently understood and are considered throughout this budget engagement cycle. So it's not just from January till now. We will start the year by re-engaging where we feel we need to come back and re-engage with our community. So to further explain how we are continuing to close that feedback loop, because again, it's very important to us as a team and as a district, I want to welcome Viva, who will be able to share with you a little bit more about our community report.
Hello. Thank you. The community report is posted currently on our LCAP website, and it was posted last week, and we hope that the public can also read this. The reason we established a community report is that when we went back, as Dr. Salazar said, it was really important for us to continue to build relationships, to engage with the Lcap development, and to listen to their feedback. The community report, because we asked such a broad question of programs and services that can be incorporated into multiple plans, we didn't also want them to feel like they didn't get their questions answered or their feedback was not taken in consideration. So we created a community report that broadly kind of addresses the themes that they came up with, and then we were able to give that feedback back to the community in this report. And also, as Dr. Salazar mentioned, we had over 600 students participate in the thought exchange this year, so we were able to go back to them. We will go back to them again. We were only able to engage with a couple of the student groups, but we provided them the same feedback that is in the community report. Specifically in the report, addressed the top 3 budget priorities, which included specific thoughts and insights. The top priority was staffing and staff training. We were able to specifically answer some of the highest rated questions around literacy specialists, counseling, and social emotional learning. The second priority was foreign language and other electives. We received many questions around ethnic studies and bilingual education. And the third budget priority were with topics around mental health personnel. The students actually specifically asked a lot more tools and resources, which Dr. Kale and Carmen was able to explain today around the wellness policy and the curriculum. And also the providers that Dr. Baker actually mentioned earlier are listed in the community report and is described of what kind of different providers will be kind of providing services to our students up in the upcoming year. These budget priorities and the responses were actually responses that came directly from different departments that are in kind of charge of these different themes. And so this was actually a very collaborative process. I personally was able to learn a lot about the district very quickly, and all this different programs that will be established in the upcoming year. So I am going to pass on to Mr. Suarez.
Thank you and good evening. Just to kind of center the discussion, what Viva just mentioned is not required by law. What I'm now going to be mentioning is required by law. So, whoops, go back one. Part of the state's LCAP approval process, as well as community engagement process, is the opportunity for the superintendent to respond in writing to questions posed by the District Community Advisory Committee, or DCAC, and the District English Learner Advisory Committee, or DLAC. This year, LBUSD presented to DCAC 4 times and to DLAC 4 times as well to update and engage these committees about the budget and the progress of the LCAP. All in all, Long Beach Unified School District made 23, counting tonight, 23 presentations since February, which does not include our student engagement activities. On April 27th, we opened an online forum to the general community for questions about the LCAP in conjunction with the release of the first draft. Last week, we closed the online community question forum. 36 community members Some with multiple questions posed questions about the LCAP. LBUSD posted a response report on June 15th, as well as sent emails directly to the community members who included their contact information. For ease of reading the responses, our report categorized the questions into 12 themes as shown on this slide. Each question posed by the community was presented unedited in the report and appear in the language used to ask that question. The response report was posted last Wednesday, and the report continues to be available at lbschools.net/LCAP under written responses to questions and feedback. Also, as Viva presented in the previous slides, the community budget report can also be found at lbschools.net/LCAP. In acknowledgement of our community, the 14-page response report concludes as follows. LBUSD expresses gratitude for the greater Long Beach community for stepping up to provide valuable input for the budget. We challenged you several times in calls to action, and you responded. We acknowledge and sincerely thank the hard work and dedication of our employees, the support of our parents and community partners, and the resilience of our students to continue to reach for excellence. And now to conclude our presentation, I bring back George. Thank you. He has a box.
Oh no. So the state requires that districts have a board-approved LCAP by June 30th. So you can see that we are nearing the end of this cycle. So with what we've presented to you tonight and in the past, you said 23, or since February, right? We conclude with L, the location of where you'll find all this information. C, all the community engagement, input, and feedback through this whole process. A, all the actions and metrics that we'll be using in order to meet the goals. And P, finally, the plan that we request you approve tonight. Is it going to work? Oh. So, thank you again for your partnership and for being part of this process.
Thank you. I think we should have the team maybe stand up and come right behind them. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Brown. Yeah. Where's that fancy camera, Mr. Grayson? Yeah.
Photographer.
Colleagues, any thoughts, questions, comments? We will have this item before us later, but anything that we want to inquire about right now?
Did the cost of this demonstration come out of the budget that we're about to? No, let me make summarize a little bit of what other people have said. That and then try and give a board perspective on it just a little bit. You know, the first draft of the LCAP was posted on April 27th, and then there was an opportunity to ask questions and provide input. That was posted that same day. The staff presented the draft LCAP at the DCAC, the District Community Advisory Committee meeting on April 28th, the very next day, and then to the District English Learners Advisory Committee on May 2nd. And we went from there to meeting with all the district parent committees, a hybrid community convening updates to the Board of Education at several board meetings. The second draft was posted on May 27th and then shared with DCAC and with DLAC on May 26th and June 6th, respectively. And then, as we heard on June 15th, we came out with a document that everybody got a chance to respond to. And I know that other members of this board, including myself, have met with members of the community that have concerns and gone over their concerns. And what's been important to me is how transparent that process has been. We haven't agreed always with the recommendations that have, at least I guess I can only speak for myself, that have been brought to us. I am, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm happy to know, look now, it's changing colors. You sure we didn't pay for this out of this budget that we? This is a really inclusive process, and I think the community has been heard, and we're taking very seriously the things that they have said. Now, the things that give a board member like me concern are the presumptions that we're making in a time that it's hard to know what the answers are. I've been looking at state budgets with regard to education for almost 2 decades now, and I remember at the very beginning thinking, oh, this is never going to work, and then all of a sudden 10 things changed over the course of the year before the things came up, and it always seemed to work out, although you never know. Now we're talking about what our enrollment is, what our average daily attendance is, and we are giving our best estimates of what that's going to be. We know that there are some cliffs that we could fall off of, but it doesn't look like we are, because we're looking carefully at what the presumptions are concerning those numbers. We don't know for sure what COLA is. I've talked to people in Sacramento who say we ought to get 16% into our base, and if we do that, we won't have any problem at all. Instead of what I thought we did away with not that long ago was these categorical programs, and we were marching in the direction of funding education the way that it should be funded, and in fact, it looks to me like we're creeping back in the opposite direction now, and we're, the governor said this is what we're going to do. Then the legislature said, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to do this differently. We thought that we knew that the budget had to be passed in June, and they technically do that, but it's going to change. There are going to be so many trailer bills that I don't think we're going to get a budget until probably sometime in August. And in the meantime, there's continuing opportunities for input from the community, input from the boards like ours as to what it is that we want to do, consistent with the goals that we have identified and shared with you. And I just want to compliment, excuse me, everybody on the process, and that how open it's been, how thorough it's been, how redundant it's been in terms of going back and asking people a second and third time about what it is that they think that they're thinking about now, as opposed to 2 weeks ago, after getting more input from various parts of the community. And I just applaud everything that we've done.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Colleagues? So I'll just share a few thoughts, and it's in the spirit of building on Mr. Otto acknowledging the effort that our team has played, particularly around engaging our communities. As all of us know, the more community members, and in this case, students, right? I can't remember so many students participating in our LCAP and budget engagement processes, at least not in the 4 years that I've been on the board. But the more community members and students that we have involved in our budget and in our LCAP, the more confidence and the more intentional we can be around the priorities that our community members have identified. By the same token, the more that we reflect the student outcomes that are intended with us prioritizing these budget areas that we have, the more that we fulfill our vision and mission around eliminating our equity gaps. So I want to invite our executive team, but our entire district team, and I'm going to do it by calling in, that I think, as I've asked from our level head offices, Dr. Lund's not here, but Mr. Moskovitz, Dr. Camerino are here, is that we call out our students with disabilities, our Black students. We have a Black Student Achievement Initiative, our English learners, our emerging bilinguals, as we've done today, because I think it is important that builds confidence and trust in us by our community members that are rightly so advocating for our most vulnerable students. It's an opportunity for us to highlight and lift up not just the areas that we've prioritized, but what's working for us. Our ELO is coming up right now, Mr. Moskovitz, so I think it's important for us to call out and call in who specifically we are trying to bring up, who specifically we're intervening, whose behalf we're intervening, because these are historically the communities that have lost trust in us, that have not engaged in us, and I think it's an opportunity to reinvite community members because they'll see it and hear it, and they'll see that we're upholding what we're prioritizing. So it's an invitation to all of our team. Let's call it out. Let's say this money's going to eliminate our Black student inequities. This money is going specifically to counselors that will uplift our LGBTQ students. This money is going specifically, the $1 million in elevation, to decrease the number of long-term English learners. This money is going specifically to address the Black and brown boys that are 2 years behind or more in math. So it's an invitation to our staff, given the strong foundation that we have here in the district, given the beautifully innovative strategies that we've seen here in engaging our community members. Let's take it as an invitation to invite more community members to build that trust, to regain that confidence that what we're doing ultimately reflects the best in what our community wants. And I think we just need to be explicit on this money, these resources, these supports are going specifically to what the community has identified, but here's what we're doing on our end. And when it's not working, to also have the confidence to say, hey, we needed to pivot, right? I've loved when we've heard from our level head offices in alignment with our iReady data, with the other metrics and data that we're using, here's what we're doing about it. I love when Dr. Kale can say, hey, we have old books, we're buying new ones. Right, so again, it's an invitation to our exec team, to our entire staff, that we're listening up here, and your intentionality in calling out why we're doing this work helps us as a board for all the reasons that Mr. Otto has just shared. So thank you.
Dr. Benitez, want to take the opportunity also to encourage that same kind of engagement at the school site level. So our schools receive millions of dollars, and our schools that have highest need students receive the most money. And so really just want to encourage parents to be involved at that local level where they may be most comfortable and may have the most opportunities to really feel that they're engaged and that their voice is heard. Those funds are deployed to school sites in LCFF, in Title I, and in Instructional Lottery, so that at the local level in a community, decisions can be made in the best way to serve that community student. So.
Thank you for calling that out. And again, the invitation is to engage where in all the spaces that we feel that our engagement has a payoff, including our school sites. So thank you for that, Dr. Baker. So I'm going to move us right along to item 15.3 in our Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, our ELO plan. Mr. Moskovitz.
All right, thank you very much. This really is a brief update building on presentations that Cindy Young, who's here in the audience, and I started at our board workshop on March 15th, followed up with another presentation at our last board meeting on June 1st. So this slide will look familiar. This is in relation to the purpose and the ed code related to the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, or ELOP. The purpose really is for school districts to expand their after-school and summer school enrichment programs. It's intended for grades kindergarten through 6th grade. We will be actually utilizing the funds, and we're allowed to, and we'll be utilizing the funds from TK through 8th grade. So all of our elementary, middle K-8, and elementary, middle, and K-8 schools will have the opportunity to access these funds and have programs on site. But ultimately, the reason we're before you today is that the plan, the ELOP plan, needs to be approved by the board before June 30th. Like many things at the state level, there's a lot of approvals that happen in June, and so we're continuing that. But this really is a very intentional building from the budget presentation that Ms. Takahashi started earlier. There was one component in the budget pyramid, if you will, related to state grants and entitlements. And so this work, which is building on the ELOP and our after-school RAP program, comes out of the $256 million overall state grants and entitlements. So we're looking at approximately $30 million a year for our RAP and ELOP programs. So you may recall at our last meeting, we referenced both, we had posted up our ELOP plan draft for public review and for your review, and we also deployed a survey to all of our TK through 8th grade families. I think Dr. Benita, as you mentioned, that some of our families might be on a little bit of survey overload, but we were happy to be able to receive about 700 responses back. So just some of the data that came from that, you can see that before you. One of the questions we asked, and the surveys were deployed in English, Spanish, and Khmer, we asked what skills would you most like your child to develop in a before or after school program? And just from the graphic alone, not even knowing what those things say, we see that our families want kind of that whole child approach. They want their children to experience many different learning opportunities in an after school program. Academics, emotional wellness, life skills, physical fitness, and social skills. And that's great because that really builds on what Cindy shared last time related to our RAP programs and the structure that really addresses all of those components currently. And so with our ELOP program, we're going to be able to expand those programs even more so. One of the questions we asked our families was, what types of enrichment activities would they want their children to experience in a before or after school program? And you can see here, again, it doesn't matter what the numbers show, but what you can see is there's a lot of different options that parents want. And what's interesting as you start looking at the school level data is that there are big differences across schools. So we can't just say that every school in Long Beach should have one type of program because there's different interests at different schools. Some schools have said they want ballet folklorico on their campus. Others want coding. Others want art, language programs, music programs. And so one of the things is we're thinking about building a district-wide plan. We also know there has to be flexibility that can be incorporated at individual sites, and that individual sites can work to meet the needs of their individual school communities. So in our plan, we are building in that flexibility to be able to meet the individual needs of sites. We also know that when you look at a series of activities that families would want their children to engage in like this, we know that we have great staff that can do amazing work during the school day and after, but we also have to connect with our local community partners. And through our RAP program, we have been doing that for many years, and we'll continue to do that. But it's not just through our RAP program. It's groups like Jazz Angels, it's groups like Ground Education, and many other organizations that are even now reaching out to us to say, hey, we'd like to help you support your ELOP plan. And we'll be prepared to engage with those local partners to be able to bring these services to our students. And I'll explain a little bit more what that would look like. Another question that we asked our families was, how much time would you need your child to be in an after-school program? The RAP grant that's been in our district for many years had a very specific requirement of a 3-hour commitment for children to be in that program. And for some families, they just don't need a full 3-hour program. It's great for those who need it, but you can see from this graphic that only about half of our families said they would like after-school programming 2 hours or more, but a quarter of the respondents said 30 minutes, and another quarter said about an hour. So you can see that we have a lot of our families who just need a little bit of time for their children to have that after-school care, or just want their children to experience some enrichment and playground type of free activities that just kind of get them out of that academic mindset maybe where they've been. So as we developed our plan, we are prepared to both expand our 2 to 3 hour programs in things like RAP, but also to look at some opportunities to expand on-site after-school enrichment and play-based activities that might be in that 30-minute to 60-minute range. So just as an example, what we did was, and I know this may be a little bit small on the screen, so you have a copy in front of you. So this is the proposed budget that goes along with our ELOP plan. So tonight you are approving the plan itself, and the plan kind of details out in a narrative format what we're trying to accomplish. Of course, any plan really needs to be accomplished through budget allocations that meet the goals of that plan. So as we've worked with our local partners and working with Cindy and her team and our budget colleagues, really thinking about what's the best way to allocate our funds. I just want to highlight a couple of components here. So Dr. Medina, at the last meeting you talked about potential wait lists in our programs. And while we can't say right now that we're going to be able to meet the need of every single student, you can see there that of the approximately $18 million in our ELOP funding, we're allocating $7.5 million to expand our current RAP programs. And our goal would be that there would be no wait lists at our schools that have these programs. And that's going to be our first priority, to focus in on the sites, focus in on students that are considered unduplicated, our English learners, those receiving free and reduced lunch, homeless foster, and really ensuring that we prioritize them and get them off any wait list that might exist. And our local partners like the YMCA and AYA are prepared to expand programming to hopefully get all the students off those wait lists.
Mr. Moskowitz, just point of
Please,
clarification.
yes.
So was it originally 17 million and it went up $1 million to 18? Or was
yeah, so
that-
right now the state budget is still, as you know, still being decided upon. The range is approximately 17.3 million. We think it will likely be a little bit more than that. But we also have some funding from this current year's ELOP plan that we'll be able to carry forward. So we're allocating approximately 18 million in this plan. It may be a little bit more or less, but we'll be able to make that adjustment as it comes up.
Look at the way Ms. Takahashi is looking at you right now, Mr. Moskowitz.
And please, and this is why it's good to have colleagues around, because they can help correct if I say anything incorrectly. So something else that's really important, you'll see a line there related to subsidized care. And you'll actually have an agenda item later on today where we're asking you to approve the plan for our subsidized care. So the idea here would be that we know we have many families in our district, and you might call them the working poor, those who don't qualify for free services. They make too much money. If you live in the city of Long Beach, you're probably making enough money that you might not qualify for the free and reduced lunch, for example. But yet, to pay for after-school programming at places that offer that in our city can range anywhere from $350 to $650. We have some great fee-based programs on our campuses now through Kids Club, Kids Corner. They provide really high-quality services to our students, but they do come with a cost. So part of what we're trying to do with this ELOP budget is to allocate some funds to allow our families to basically pay a cap. If you earn above a certain amount of money, we're going to cap the amount of money you would have to pay for those fee-based services. And we know that's going to help all of our families in Long Beach, especially those who are really struggling to get by with the income that they receive. You'll also see a couple of opportunities for just additional rec aid staff. This is going to be to bring back what has been kind of a long tradition in Long Beach, the after-school coachy time, where kids can play on campus for 30 or 45 minutes, kind of structured, unstructured play, maybe until mom or dad get off work or till the babysitter can come, or just so that kids can kind of get the wiggles out, if you will. And so we'll be allocating some additional funds to our sites to be able to bring those rec aids onto our campus and keep them after school in the way that we know our families are looking for. And then lastly, and I think this touches on some things we heard from the community, some things that I heard from all of you as well. We're going back to that slide that showed the various, this one here, the various interests of our families and our students, and knowing that the interests vary across sites. We are prepared to allocate $1.5 million to sites. That will range, it'll be based on the number of students at the school. So you can imagine a range of about $15,000 to $30,000 per site. And this will allow individual schools and their communities to determine what kind of enrichment program will they bring on for after-school programs. It could be a Spanish club, it could be a ballet folklorico, it could be a STEM program, a robotics club, and all of the things that we know our students are really engaged in, that love to be engaged in, but allowing the individual school community to determine what those programs may be. So more information coming to our schools and then from schools to families to determine what those programs might be, maybe a small cost depending on income levels, but really prioritizing again our unduplicated students to be able to access some of those programs, in addition to the great enrichment that they're already receiving in our current RAP programs, which that is a big foundation of that. But just kind of speaking with enrichment and building on something that Dr. Baker shared earlier, I just want to continue to emphasize that our schools are using the site funds that we provide to them beyond ELOP, our LCFF funding, our Title I funding, their lottery funds, to do during the day enrichment. So just a few examples, and actually a couple of these are before you on our agenda later on today for the budget. For example, Dooley and Stevenson are using site funds, have decided they're going to use site funds to bring in Ground Education, which is a local nonprofit that teaches students planting and science and the value of kind of the way the world works and environment. And they're using some of their site funds to provide that during the school day enrichment to students. Hart, on the agenda later today, Hart is using some of their site funds for Meet the Masters program. And many of our schools use their site funds for during the day enrichment like that. Last year and continuing, or this year and continuing next year, we're also using ESSER funds to bring in Conga Kids, which is a dance program that really kind of connects with students' culture, their joy and enthusiasm. And that is currently at 8 of our elementary and K schools in North Long Beach this year. Well, I say this year, I guess the year ended last week, but last year and this coming year, we'll continue to use our ESSER funds for that. And those are just 3 very quick examples of how we're both using district ESSER funds and how sites are using the funds that they receive from the district in LCFF Title I for during the day enrichment. So it's not going to look the same at every site. Different sites have different needs. They work with their school site councils to determine how they're going to utilize those funds. But we do have many enrichment programs throughout our district during the day. And with the $1.5 million we're allocating, we'll be able to bring in some great enrichment after school hours as well.
Quick question on that, Mr. Moskovitz. Given the challenges that some of our school sites have, particularly this last year, engaging with parents, and we don't have a whole lot of folks that watch our school board meetings, what's our strategy to let parents know, hey, we have additional funding that you can help make decisions at your school, right? Traditionally, we don't have a lot of parents participating in school site council at many of our schools. So how do we communicate this and incentivize parents now that we have some dedicated funding to do enrichment at the schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think part of it is the approval of the plan tonight by the board and approval of our budget. Cindy is now part of her work is to support the RAP ELO office, and she has staff through our administrative budget here to build out the communication. We have a great communications team that has been working with us already on communication related to TK and kindergarten, and we'll be pushing some of that out next year. In addition, we've been talking for many years, how can we get our principals to take on a even more active role than they're currently taking on, to reach out to families, hold kind of school level community information sessions, community input opportunities, and our principals are ready to do that. Obviously, some of the last couple of years, the challenges pushed that back a bit, but our principals have experience with that and will be continuing to reach out to families. So I think there's a lot of communication coming related to some of this work. So I want to pause there and just see if you have questions related to the ELOP plan.
Good. So since you mentioned the opportunities that principals will have to connect with the parents, I know that some of the principals, even when we shut down, they would have Zoom, coffee chats with the parents, especially when it first started, so that, people could ask questions and still continue that engagement. I know parent organization groups, that's a good opportunity for the principals to engage with the parents. I know at the high school level, being in a PTA at a high school is advantageous because the principal will not generally attend any of the booster club meetings, but they generally attend the PTA meetings. So I think it's very helpful for parents to have access to the principal, even if it's just a monthly meeting, even if it's just a few parents that show up. But I think it's very important that the principals reach out.
Absolutely, and there are some of those formal structures like PTA, PTO, and there's other ways to access and reach out to those families that maybe don't normally come to meetings like that. And so I think that's how do we find the families who don't typically engage or otherwise engage? How might we pull them in as well?
And this is just an odd thought, but I like the old-timey way of doing things, especially now that we rely on technology. I'm thinking back to when my oldest was in school. There's a bulletin board, and this works real well at the elementary level. Parents are spending a little bit of time on that school campus. if there's a place where there's a bulletin board, you know, you can have flyers on the, not everybody likes to rely on the computer or has access to computers, you know, for Peach Jar and all these other things that are available. But I think if we try multiple ways of gaining the parents' attention, I think the more parents will reach. So sometimes we have to think back in time, and this is probably the second time today I've gone back in time, but as I recall. But I think when we employ different ways, then we catch more people.
Great. Any other questions related to ELOP? Otherwise, I have a couple slides on UPK.
Very, very quickly.
Sure.
Excuse me. You know, what they did in Long Beach, the city of Long Beach, 25 years ago or so, was they said, we're having trouble connecting people in our districts. That's when they would move to historic districts and whatnot. And so they formed Leadership Long Beach, not the city, but they had it done. And what they found was that people actually wanted to know, and that they could train. I can't believe that there aren't other school districts that have confronted this same problem, and there should be some best practices, things out there that we could learn from to get people engaged, because it's a cultural issue. The cultural issue is, how do people who don't have the experience in being engaged become engaged, and what's successful in doing that? And so,
we could probably spend hours talking about parent engagement. One thing I will say, specifically at the elementary level, I can speak to this. Every November, every one of our teachers meets individually with every one of our parents. And in the last couple of years, we've shifted from teachers telling parents things and really having our teachers kind of elicit from parents what they need to know about the child. This is more of an idea of like a family meeting. And so, again, we could spend hours talking about that, but there's a lot of ways that we can improve the outreach to families. Okay, so just a couple of slides. So in addition to approving our ELOP plan later tonight, we're also going to ask you to accept the UPK plan. So this is different than approving it. The plan doesn't need to be approved. However, it does need to be, we will need to submit some of the components of our plan to our to the LA County Office of Education. So tonight, again, as a building on the presentation that Cindy and I shared at our March board workshop and then our last meeting on June 1st, just again coming back to this idea that with UPK, we're looking at a multi-delivery model. So we're looking at how do we partner, how does the school district partner with groups like Head Start and Child Development Centers? How do we partner with our local nonprofits to make sure that our youngest students, and particularly here our 4-year-olds, have access to high quality programming? And so just as a reminder, with our full day transitional kindergarten program, we will follow the state requirement of 24 students in a classroom capacity, 12-to-1 adult-student ratio, and Mr. Miller, you had asked that question last time as well. So in our TK classrooms, there will always be 2 adults in the classroom at any given time. So 12-to-1 is the maximum student-to-adult ratio, and in some cases it will actually be 8-to-1. But our TK program is really going to allow us to build on that strong foundation for our youngest students. And anytime I hear conversation about closing the equity gap, closing the achievement gap, I always think about what could we do with our 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds so there never is a gap to begin with. And so programs like this, high quality early learning that's already taking place in our CDC and Head Start programs, and that we'll build from in our TK programs, I think is going to get us closer to that reality. We're focusing on those developmentally appropriate practices, using our environment with our new kindergarten and TK furniture, indoor and outdoor, to really build opportunities for students to learn the way that brings them joy and brings them enthusiasm and builds that love of learning, love of school. And the last thing I'll point out, something that folks at the state level are very excited about what we're doing. We like to pride ourselves sometimes in Long Beach on kind of being innovators and finding new ways. And folks at the state level have been working with Cindy to really share their excitement for what we're engaging in. And that's the idea of the partnership model, where our TK classrooms in about 2/3 of our schools will have both a TK teacher and a high-quality pre-K CDC or Head Start teacher. And that's going to bring the benefit of 2 highly qualified teachers with students. Many districts are looking at just paraprofessionals as the second adult. Paraprofessionals are great, but the training and experience that come with a pre-K teacher, you can't replace that. And in fact, our pre-K teachers know so much about developmentally appropriate practice, assessments that are needed for our youngest learners, and just how to engage with young learners in kind of a play-based, developmentally appropriate way. And of course, our TK teachers come with strong knowledge of lesson structure and curriculum. So about marriage, it's gonna be challenging anytime you have two teachers in the same room. You have to kind of work through those kinks. But the benefit that's going to come to our students is going to be tremendous. And so part of what you're approving in our UPK plan, or what you're accepting in our UPK plan, is our plan to move forward with our partnership model. And that's what we'll be sharing with LACO, that we'll be moving forward with. And again, folks at CDE and the other organization, who else? Yes, thank you. Department of Social, thank you, Cindy, for being, Department of Social Services are very excited about what we're embarking on. So just want to share a couple of components there, and then again, if you have any questions about ELOP or UPK, I'm happy to answer them.
Are we good, colleagues?
I think you've checked all my boxes.
So, folks, we have rest of a full agenda and several items in new business that we got to get through. So why don't we take a 10-minute break, and then we'll reconvene at 7:37. Thank you. Welcome back. It's embarrassing here because I got caught with my hands in the cookie jar. But we will move on to business items, and we'll start off with our certificated personnel report. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. I present the following proposed actions prepared by the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource Services, approved and recommended by the Superintendent. For certificated personnel, appointments, we have 89. In service changes, we have 7. Leaves of absence, we have 11. Resignations, we have 6. Retirements, we have 6. And amendments, we have 2. That's for certificated personnel.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. 16.2, classified personnel report.
All right. Once again, I present the following proposed actions prepared by the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource Services, approved and recommended by the Superintendent. For classified and exempt personnel, appointments, we have 62. Leaves of absence, we have 20. Resignations, we have 13. And retirements, we have 12. That's for classified and exempt personnel.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. One of the things that I've been speaking with David about as we've gotten towards the end of the year is getting a snapshot of our hiring numbers, our onboarding numbers. I know I share this with Jill as well, as this would be something that I'd definitely like to share with both our colleagues and the district in regards to where we are with some of those items.
So I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but I can certainly bring that and share that at the next meeting or email that to you. In terms of hiring, we are roughly around the 60% mark in terms of how many. We are on target to hire approximately, and I'm only speaking of certificated staff, our teaching staff, will be somewhere north of 200 hires this year, and we have quite a few that we are processing right now in HR. The school year just ended, and we still have interviews taking place at some of our school sites, and we're continuing to move forward with our hiring, but we're roughly right about the 60% mark at this point.
And Mr. Zay, these are for positions that we would expect would begin in the next academic year?
Yes, I was referring to our 22-23 school year.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, let's take our vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And no abstentions, so that passes 5-0. Moving on to item 16.3, instruction report.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, we're saving our discussion for those 16 items in new business. Did we get a motion in a second? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I said I wasn't going to do this, Dr. Baker. So let's take our vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. 16.4, Finance Report A.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That also passes 5-0. 16.5, Finance Report B.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I recuse myself from participation in Finance Report B on the consent calendar. I have a potential financial interest under Government Code 1091 and 87100. My husband works for a subcontractor who has done work for the payees.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Any further discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0 with one abstention. Business Department report.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to send a special thank you to both Enterprise Holdings and Sharon for their donations to Bethune, as those are our students and families that are experiencing homelessness, and I just really appreciate those efforts.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. 16.7, Purchasing and Contracts report.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. We will move on to other items, superintendent items. Item 17.1, student readmissions. Dr. Baker?
Thank you. I have 2 students to recommend for readmission. So I'm pleased to recommend that the following students' expulsion be lifted and that they are assigned to a school or instructional program as recommended by the Office of Student Placement Services. The first student is with student ID 484, and the second is student ID 164. Prior to being considered for possible readmission, the students were required to successfully complete specific programs of rehabilitation designed to prevent further misconduct and to promote their academic success.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. Next item is student discipline.
Thank you. I have 5 separate recommendations to make for expulsions. I will take those one at a time. The first, I'm recommending expulsion of the following student, ID 163. The student would be expelled under Education Codes 48915C2 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after January 2023. However, Student Placement Services has made the recommendation that this student be expelled with a consideration for a suspended expulsion with an opportunity to attend another school within LBUSD.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
The second recommendation is for student number 390. This student would be expelled under Education Codes 48915C3 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after January 2023. However, Student Placement Services has made the recommendation that this student be expelled with a consideration for a suspended expulsion with an opportunity to attend another school within LBUSD.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
The third is student 842. This student would be expelled under Education Codes 48915M and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after January 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
The next is student 696. This student would be expelled under Education Codes 48900.7 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after June 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? We'll take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
And lastly, student 840. This student would be expelled under Education Code 48915C1 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after June 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. Next item, 17.3, administrative assignments.
Great, I'm going to pass to Mr. Moskowitz to kick off tonight's administrative assignment recommendations.
All right, thank you. At our May 18th board meeting, you all had approved the recommendation of Dolnari Adirasinghe Aga to be the principal at Carver. Obviously, life is not perfect and things change, and so since that time, we had a slight adjustment, and tonight need to recommend that Dolnari no longer be the principal at Carver, but instead be the principal at McKinley Elementary School. And I know that may come across as a bit of a frustration for some of those in the Carver community. The good news, though, we're also recommending that Monica Manapon, who is the current assistant principal at Lincoln Elementary School, be the principal at Carver. And Monica just comes with a wealth of experience and will do a great job there. And then lastly, to backfill the assistant principal position at Lincoln, we're recommending that Miller Bailey, who is a new hire to the district, be placed as the assistant principal at Lincoln Elementary School.
I'll take it from there. In Dr. Lund's absence, I would like to recommend Christy Freund McFagan, moving from Program Specialist in the Office of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development to Assistant Principal at Nelson Middle School. Antoine Nguyen, from Assistant Principal at Nelson Middle School to Assistant Principal at Bancroft Middle School. And lastly, Christina Sunada, a hire from outside the district to be assigned to Assistant Principal at Hughes Middle School. And last, going from middle schools to high schools, the recommendation for DeAndre Richardson, who is a counselor currently at Beach, to the head counselor at Browning. And then I'll turn to Dr. Simon for positions in her office.
All right, so good evening. So I come to you with a recommendation for Brandon Messina, who is currently a teacher on special assignment, to move into the role of administrative assistant for the Adult Community Transition Program. Karen Friedhoff, Dr. Karen Friedhoff, and also Dr. Jennifer Yates, current school psychologist, to move into the role of lead psychologist for the district. Dr. LaShonda Prelo, our program administrator for Tucker for the ACT program, to move into the position of program administrator for safe and supportive schools. And then we have Charo Darwin Gloma, who's a principal at McKinley, to move into the role of administrative assistant in the Division of Special Education. Thank you.
And the last recommendation is for Maynard Montiel, who's currently assistant principal at Hughes, to move in to the assistant director position in the Office of Equity, Leadership, and Talent Development. And these are my recommendations.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? That passes 5-0. Congratulations to our new assignments. Unfinished business, we have none. And so we will move right into new business. Colleagues, some of these we'll take individually, others we'll take in groups, just depending on who's speaking on behalf. So I'll keep note of each item, and I'll just go in order. So we'll start off with item 19.1, adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2022 and 2023.
Move approval.
Second. Any discussion? Let's vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions. That passes 5-0. Next item is item 19.2, resolution number 062222-C, authorizing commitments of fund balance in the fiscal year 2022-2023 adopted budget.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Item 19.3, adoption of the Local Control and Accountability Plan, LCAP.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just reiterate what I said earlier, and that is that I really appreciate the breadth of the process and all the outreach that was done to the community and how the community responded. And I want the community to know that that they were heard and their thoughts were incorporated. And the best news is that given the state of the budget and the way that this process works, it ain't over yet. And that there can be modifications made, and with things like iReady and the other things that we've got going, we can be making changes all the time in real time to better serve our students.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Further discussion?
Yeah. 2.5 years ago, there was a lot of tough conversations around the local control and accountability plan. There were a lot of disgruntled community members. There were a lot of people from inside of this building that were working really busy to get a lot of tough topics resolved. But more importantly, there was a lot of communication had about how do we continue to help students and serve students. And so as we sit here today and approve the LCAP budget and plan as designed, I know that that is the undertone of where we are, all of that hard work. And so I know that there's still a lot of work to be done, as Doug said earlier, but at the same token, I'm very pleased all of the community effort that has been input into this plan, all of the support from, like I said, the folks in this building and all the hard work that you all have put into these efforts. And I obviously have high hopes that this plan is being implemented to do what is most important, which is serve these young men and young women. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Further discussion? I will echo my colleagues' sentiments. Did you want to add? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And just thank our community members and students for engaging in our LCAP process, and particularly also thank everyone that came out to provide public comment, not just at our meeting today, but at our previous meeting. So thank you for engaging and for trusting us to do well by your input and feedback. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions. Congratulations. Our LCAP is approved. 5-0. 19.4, approval of Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, ELO plan.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, very
Go ahead,
briefly,
Sean.
I want to thank Brian for all the work that he's excuse me, done on this. And this isn't from the 30,000 foot level, but it's from the 15,000 foot level. And that this is really a change. I mean, for the first time, we are operationalizing something that we've known for years, and that is how important early education is for the success of our students. And we've got a reasonable program. We've been very careful in the way that we've done it so that we protect the students and protect the people that will be teaching and working with them by establishing good guidelines. And I'm excited to see how we do with this. I think it's transformational in the way we do our work here.
Yeah, ditto, but I just really appreciated one of the comments that you said off the cuff as you were speaking about the ELO plan, is that you want to be a part of the prevention of the education gap, not just part of the intervention. So I really appreciated that, and so I like to think that the approval of this plan is just the first step in that. So thanks, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the ELO plan and the after-school programming is something that we know parents have asked for and needed for probably decades in this district. So I am grateful that not only is the funding there through the state, but the allocation was made to recognize the need that allows us to expand a really necessary program, not just for the academic health of our kids, but for the economic health of our families and communities. I'm especially grateful for the recognition of those families who are on the cusp of not being able to access services because there isn't just enough disposable income, and so that we're supplementing those families that have been traditionally left out of opportunities like this because they just couldn't make it work. So thanks for all of the great thinking around the after-school programming.
Ditto, Ms. Kerr, and also want to shout out Cindy Young, who is here, who will be doing a lot more heavy lifting in her new role with her new responsibilities moving forward in all of our early care and education efforts. Any further discussion?
Just really quickly, the district has a bunch of secret weapons within it. Cindy's one of those, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate her.
He just weaponized you, Cindy, publicly. Let's take our vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Item 19.5, approval of rates for fee-based before and after school programs.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Item 19.6, acceptance of universal pre-kindergarten plan.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes 5-0. Item 19.7, Board Policy 5030, Student Wellness.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I just want to thank all involved for what started and what is necessary as a compliance document and process, but really looking at the opportunity to expand the work and to move the work into the future of what we know our students have been asking for and have needed. And to Pamela Secchi for coming back to work with that group, and all of those who contributed time, especially staff members and teachers who logged on at 4 o'clock after finishing a full day of teaching and being with students in that way to continue the good work as we continue to expand and develop our wellness opportunities for students. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Further discussion? Okay, let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Item 19.8, Comprehensive School Safety Plan.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion.
I would only say that that we're in the middle of this, and that there's still work being done, and I appreciate all the work that and the approach of the district to this, especially Tiffany's work on this so far. I've gotten more emails and public comment on this than I have on anything else since I've been on the board. People are very concerned, and the message I've been sending is that it couldn't be done last week because there wasn't enough time, and it's a very, very important policy, and I am experiencing the dedication of this district and the people in this district to coming up with good, solid answers that are based on data and evidence, and listening to the people who are out there worried about these things. So it's only the beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Further discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. 19.9, resolution number 062222-D regarding gun violence prevention.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion.
I would just like to add that I believe personally that no private citizen needs to have an assault rifle. And I'll just put that out there since it is included in the policy.
Thank you, Ms. Craighead. Any further discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Item 19.10, list of candidates for graduation.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
That's
Yeah,
that's
5
an easy one.
yeas up here.
Who's going to vote against this?
I know we all read our variations of referrals. Let's take our vote, colleagues. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Item 19.11, pre-qualified construction management consultants. Mr. Miranda, can you actually speak to items 19.11, 19.12, and I believe 19.13 is yours too, Mr. Miranda?
I can speak to all three of those.
Okay.
So let's start off with the construction management pre-qualified pool of companies there. So it's been roughly 5 years since we last updated or refreshed that pre-qualified pool of consultants, so we feel it's an appropriate time frame to go and refresh that list just based on our ongoing workload and projected workload in the bond program. So we set forth on a process which is very customary for us on the facilities and bond program side of the house in terms of contractor selection and recruitment, ultimately recommendations. So that typically entails us assigning a group of project managers and administrators from the facility side of the house to take part in this paper screening process. We like having different folks, and we mix it up so it's not the same folks or one individual making these recommendations or selections in a vacuum, of course. So different folks from the facility side of the house on the paper screening, on the interview process, and ultimately setting forth recommendations. So very fair and transparent process. Very happy to report that there was quite a bit of interest for this particular pool of construction management firms, right? So that bodes well for what we're doing as a district in the bond program, as well as just the fact that there's that many construction management firms looking to do business with us, of course. That included large firms, mid-sized firms, small firms. By small, I mean firms with roughly 12 to 12.5 employees, right? So that, again, really happy to see that, and that shows and it's reflected in the recommendations as well. So what we're recommending this evening is 8 firms. Again, a mix of large, mid-size, and small firms. Really feel 8 is the sweet spot in terms of number of firms to have a deep and quality bench for us, but also enough work to go around for each of those firms with respect to the bond program. So that's the first item in terms of construction management firms. Second item is our Citizens Oversight Committee. So proud to report and make a recommendation of Mr. Nario to fill a vacancy that we've had for several months, actually. So in accordance with Prop 39, we're required to have a Citizens Oversight Committee to oversee our bond expenditures and bond program. It's a 7-member group. The 7 seats are actually required to be filled with certain categories, right? So that includes categories such as a representative who takes part in a senior citizen organization, a rep who takes part in a bona fide taxpayer organization, somebody from the business community, and so forth. This particular seat is to fill a vacancy for a parent of a Long Beach Unified student who also is involved in a PTO organization. And Mr. Nario checks both of those boxes. Although not required, we also like that he checks another box. So the seat that he's filling is a seat vacated by Karsh HS, who represented the North Long Beach community, and Mr. Nario also represents the North Long Beach community. So we're happy that he checks pretty much every one of those boxes. And then the last item is with respect to a resolution that's before you this evening. So AB 841, Assembly Bill 841, has to do with heating and ventilating, efficiency type updates. It's basically a grant that's available for local agencies and entities, including school districts. This allows us to really apply for these grants to embark on improvements on the HVAC side of the house, plumbing fixtures, carbon dioxide monitors for classrooms, so a host of activities that could benefit our district. There's a priority and emphasis for underserved communities. We've identified 46 schools that actually qualify for these grants, totaling up to $7 million, which is great for Long Beach Unified. We've worked in collaboration and coordination with Mr. Rising, with the maintenance side of the house as well, just to identify where there's potential overlap with our Measure E program, because we're embarking on similar improvements, right? So again, another opportunity where we can leverage Measure E dollars and utilize these grant dollars. The reason this resolution is before you is AB 841 requires that we adopt a board resolution authorizing staff to be able to formally apply for these grants.
Thank you, Mr. Miranda. So we'll take these one by one, if you don't mind waiting for us as we go through these, Mr. Miranda. Let's start with item 19.11, pre-qualified construction management consultants.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is item 19.12, approval of member to the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is item 19.13, resolution number 062222-A regarding the California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency Program.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Miranda.
Thank you.
He does. Covered it all. Next item is item 19.14, resolution number 062222-B, to approve sole source procurement of a contract to Curriculum Associated LLC, DBA Elevation, based on the finding that competitive bidding would not produce any advantage.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is item 19.15, General Counsel Employment Contract. Dr. Baker?
Thank you. I'm pleased to make a recommendation tonight after a 9 months long process, a recommendation for General Counsel. This position will be instrumental in management of the district's legal functions and associated costs. And after a thorough recruitment process, our administration has selected and recommends to the board the hiring of Wayne Stumpfer as General Counsel. Before you take action, I'd like the opportunity to read the required reporting information about compensation per government code. It will take me a moment because it's a page of information. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of the salary and fringe benefits as set forth in the proposed General Counsel Employment Agreement between Long Beach Unified School District and Wayne Stumpfer. Contract term effective July 20th, 2022 and through July 19th, 2024. Annual salary of $250,216.51 effective July 20th, 2022. Percentage salary increases not less than those granted by the governing board to any other non-represented manager or bargaining unit of the district during the term of this contract, including but not limited to any retroactive salary increase approved by the board for the 2022-2023 school year. Paid medical benefits on the same terms as other management employees. District-paid life insurance with a death benefit of $50,000 and district-paid premium for additional life insurance in an amount not to exceed $500,000, providing the annual cost does not exceed $3,250. 21.06 working days of annual vacation with pay, exclusive of holidays. 13.26 days of annual sick leave. The district shall provide a $350 monthly stipend for a vehicle allowance. The district shall pay for necessary expenses associated with professional growth activities approved by the board. The district shall pay the general counsel's membership dues in California Council of School Attorneys, membership dues for the California State Bar Association, and required fees for minimum continuing legal education. And so with those in mind, I make the recommendation to hire and approve the employment agreement with Wayne Stumpfer as general counsel.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Wayne, congratulations.
Great. I'd like
You're
to-
part of the
let's
LBUSD
pause and
team.
acknowledge Mr. Stumpfer's in the room tonight.
You want to come up and say anything, Wayne, or are you good? Would you like to come up and say anything, or are you good?
I think with the time of the evening and what you guys have been through today, I think I'll wait, but it's a pleasure to be here. I look really very forward to working with all of you. I've met some of you through the interview process, and I just really look forward to working with you. So thank you very much.
Likewise, and we have high expectations for you.
I'll
Wayne.
meet them, I promise.
Appreciate you, and congratulations on joining the LBUSD team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Next item is item 19.16, board meeting schedule.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, let's clarify what the
Sure.
meeting dates are.
Happy to. So this is a workshop that was scheduled for July 19th, Tuesday. In order to accommodate summer schedules, I'll say we're making the recommendation to shift the workshop to the morning of July 18th, within a break, committee meetings, and a regular board meeting on the evening of July 18th. So it compresses it into a whole day's work instead of 2 half days' work.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Discussion? Let's take our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No opposed. That passes 5-0. Item 20, report of board members. Ms. Craighead, why don't you start us off?
Okay. I'm going to try and do a Reader's Digest version of everything. It's been a very busy time, as everybody knows. There was a Renaissance Roundtable, and we had the Deputy Superintendent of Education, Cindy Martin, from Washington, D.C. visit, and the State Superintendent, Tony Thurman, and our own Mayor, Robert Garcia. I'm not the only board member that attended that event, so I'll let others add to that. I'll just say it was a wonderful opportunity to hear from our students in the LGBTQ community, and it was very enlightening and wonderful that our own mayor could share his experience to benefit our kids. I had an opportunity to attend a jungle cruise. It was a STEM event at Holmes, and they had science projects on display. This was an after-school event. They had science projects on display, fun science-related activities. They had a DJ, music. They did it up right. They did a whole science thing, and it was very fun. I attended a KPA Senior Scholarship event. That's the Kumai Parents Association. And they gave away scholarships to graduating seniors. Ms. Chan Hobson, who is the founder for the organization, she escaped the killing fields in Cambodia, ended up in Long Beach. I'm trying to make this really short. Came to Long Beach, attended Long Beach City College, and was given a scholarship. And from the time she was given a scholarship, she thought that when she was able, she would like to pay that forward. And so she's been doing that for many years. I just think that that is a beautiful part of her very generous spirit. And the event was a beautiful celebration of the Kumai culture and honoring their heritage as they recognize graduating seniors. And there was an attendee, Dr. Thompson, who said, aloha can solve the problems of this world. And of course, aloha meaning love. It can also mean hello and goodbye, but I think in that context, he meant love. The Long Beach Council PTA named Bixby Literacy Specialist Jill Nickel Teacher of the Year and honored Lester Lawson IV, we know him as Dow of Lowell, as the Outstanding Administrator. I attended an event at, well, actually, not an event, it was a garden lesson at MacArthur, and that was provided by Ground Education, and we had a lot of ground education items in the purchasing and contract report tonight. I had the opportunity to attend a performance of The Wiz at Edetta at the invitation of Dr. Jennifer Prager. That it's just great to see little kids up on the stage singing and dancing and knowing their lines. The little Toto was adorable. Anyhow, they were all adorable, but that was very fun. That was a treat. I attended the Pacific Islander Education Voyage. It was our first annual senior scholarship event, and I brought this lei that's handmade by Malaya Fepulea Ito Omalitai Coleman. I think I said that right. I'm going to say I said that right. Anyhow, she makes these leis to give to everyone, and she told me that each one takes about 5 hours. And she makes these with aloha also. And Ms. Coleman came from Samoa because her parents wanted to give her more opportunities for education and to find success in life. And so she values education, and she's paying that forward to our Pacific Islander students. And that's why she created the Pacific Islander Education Voyage. So incredible people in our community. Let's see. And then also I was included by my colleague, Mr. Miller, to attend the Operation Jumpstart Scholars Day celebration. And so I'd like to thank all the mentors who support our students. They really give our kids a leg up. And then finally, congratulations to all our graduates. I personally attended 4 graduations in one day and conferred over 1,700 students, and it was great fun. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craighead. Ms. Kerr.
Yes, I'll be brief. Graduation week is always heartwarming and gratifying, and I'm so proud of our kids and all that they have done, all that they have worked through, especially this class of 2022. And I said to someone that the graduation celebrations and the joy that is there kind of softens up the rough edges of what we know was a tough year for a lot of folks. So congratulations to all of our graduates and all of those students who promoted from one school site to another. I also had the opportunity to go to the summer kickoff for the Urban Math Collaborative. So they're beginning their 2-week camp at Cal State in partnership with Cal State Long Beach. And they've built over the 11 years an incredible community of learners and support. And so one of the highlights was the young men who are acting as mentors for this 2-week process. Many of them are alumni of the program from 2015 and 2016, specifically to Jordan High School. So to hear their stories and hear their excitement at having the opportunity to spend time with these young men still in high school, it's just a tremendous opportunity for big change in our communities and in our schools. So thank you to those young men and young adult men for stepping up to be mentors for the next 2 weeks, to Ms. Robinson and Ms. Jenkins for their continued support and advocacy for the program, and our partners at Cal State Long Beach for going on this journey with us. I also had the opportunity to go to the Century Club. So after 2 years, the Century Club annual sports night banquet returned for its 65th annual. The Century Club is an incredible community of people who uplift athletics and scholar athletes in this community, obviously for decades. They award high schoolers with individual recognition in individual sports as well as Athletes of the Year. And we had 2 special recognitions this year. The Frank Vessels Jr. Award, which is presented for long-term support of athletics within the Long Beach Unified School District, was presented to our own Moore League secretary and PE curriculum extraordinaire, Lisa Ulmer. So congratulations to her for being a steadfast supporter of scholar athletes for decades in this district, and her commitment to physical education and health education is to be commended. And the Long Beach Century Club High School Coach of the Year was awarded to Sherrod Moore, the Jordan track and field coach, for their first ever boys CIF championship in school history. So to Sherrod, and I'll call out our Jordan students and our North Long Beach scholars who were recognized by the Century Club. We're proud of you. And to the Century Club, thank you for continuing to not only fund sports and sports programming, but scholarships that allow our students to continue on into high school and professional athletics. Jarrell Casey was there. Our Hall of Fame class is always wonderful. So for those of you not engaged with the Century Club and love sports in this city, it really is a love letter to a phenomenal history of athletics in this city. So I would encourage you to get involved. And last evening, attended the Album Managers Annual. It used to be a scholarship evening, but the scholarships were awarded to high school students from every high school earlier, but recognizing the retirees in our management and our unrepresented folks. So thank you for their commitment to our students. It was good to be with you when we were looking to honor folks for significant anniversaries. We had to get all the way up to 15 years of service to start to honor folks who are celebrating 15, 20, 25, and 30 years of service to our students. So congratulations to all of them on an incredible year.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Mr. Otto.
I will be briefer than brief because I've got a plane to catch. But I was at I've been a member of the Century Club for more than 20 years, and the thing that was unique this year about their banquet was the middle school banquet was that they did it at Cal State Long Beach. And if you could have seen in the pyramid, and if you could have seen the look on the kids' faces as they walked in, and you could almost see them think, I could go to school here. So it was a very special evening. I did the Wilson, Sato, Rogers, and Tincher promotions. The first 2 were graduations, and as Megan said, they're very moving and reminds us about what we're here. And so with that, I'll stop.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Mr. Miller, take your time. See if we can get Mr. Otto to miss his flight.
I will not.
Objection. I'm sorry.
I'll try and help you out here. So I'll try to be brief as well. So I was able to attend one graduation in CAMS, and Ms. Cornejo did an excellent job. But I think the piece that I was most humbled with is it's one of our smaller graduations within the district. And unfortunately, they had 2 young people who had passed away that would have been a part of this graduation class. And this group of students wanted to make sure that not only the students were recognized, but also those families were recognized during the graduation, and so it was part of the graduation process where they brought a rose into the space where they'd be standing, and it was just really a thoughtful way of sending out that class, and so I was really impressed with our students at camps. I almost forgot about our meeting over at Renaissance. Yeah, I mean, it's been a busy couple of weeks here. But I will say, obviously, there were a lot of really fancy people in the room, right? And you already talked about them. But I was most impressed with our young people. And our discussions will stay in that space because that's the agreement that we made. But I was just really impressed with their, not necessarily just their articulation of what they've experienced, but their social awareness of how things made them feel and being able to communicate that. Those young men and young women were just really impressive. And so, sadly, I almost forgot about that moment, but I'm glad that you reminded me. So, thank you. My friend here already talked about the Math Collaborative, so I won't bring that up, but I will speak to something that's really cool, and it's from one of our biggest supporters over at the Math Collaborative, and Mr. Jason Robinson, who's a Long Beach Unified School District graduate and just went into space. Yeah, so he went into space on June 4th on mission NS-21. Pretty cool stuff, and he's a Gantt graduate and a Wilson graduate and a Hughes graduate, if I'm not mistaken. So just really exciting stuff from one of our Long Beach Unified School District students, being a member of those that have gone into space. Probably a really small club, especially within our city, I would say. And last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all of the great Juneteenth celebrations that happened throughout the city of Long Beach this past weekend. I mean, there was one at Long Beach City College. There was one at MacArthur Park. There was another one, and a fantastic one. It was the one that I attended over at Rainbow Lagoon, and the space was just powerful in regards to seeing thousands of members from my community just really center around love and joy, and the undertones of the space were consistently things like Black boy joy or Black girl magic, and really trying to uplift this next generation of young people. And it was just a wonderful experience. And so I know we had a booth at the event. I wanted to thank Alyssa and obviously Justin and his team. My daughter, now, small story. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make you late. My little girl, who has a few words in her arsenal, not very many, but two that she loves, one is red, and then another one is she loves suckers. So if there's ever a sucker anywhere, she's going to jump at the chance at a sucker. And so as we come up to the table, and she's introducing herself, giving high fives, they just happen to have a bowl full of red suckers. I was like, oh gosh. So my little girl just, she thought it was heaven. It hit the jackpot, didn't want to leave. So it was really cool for my little girl to get really excited, and we put a placard on the board there. But all things considered, I just really enjoyed that space, and I look forward to the district taking an even bigger part in spaces like that, because I think that the undertones of what that space represents is exactly what we've talked about in the LCAP, and the undertones of what we want to represent as a city entity. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'll keep it brief there, Mr. Otto. So I will also add my congratulations to all of our students that graduated, promoted, advanced, successfully made it through a challenging year. And I also want to congratulate their families, caregivers, loved ones, friends that supported them on their path to success. I want to particularly highlight those students that took different paths to success, and for many reasons in life, got to their destination. Some with multiple paths to get to that destination. And I want to specifically highlight the celebrations from the Long Beach School for Adults, our adult community transition celebration at Tucker, our educational partnership high school, and just celebrate that success takes on many different shapes and forms, and our paths should all be celebrated as long as we get to that destination. Even for our, I believe Ms. Broadway said we had an 81-year-old graduate last year. So just, big shout out to everyone that's accomplishing their dreams, no matter what path you've taken to accomplish those dreams. We're all proud of you. That's my report for tonight. Dr. Baker, Superintendent's
Thank
report.
you. I just have three quick things. The first is just an announcement that our second annual report, the 2022 annual report, is live on our website in both English and Spanish. And I want to thank Justin and the communications team, specifically Chris Eftahue in the Public Information Office and our Marketing and Media Services, for a beautiful design of the report that this year is called A Time of Transition. And when you look at the cover of it, it reflects, when I think about our students and what they've been through, the evolution of a year, A Time of Transition. It's available on the front page of our website. Secondly, today, actually, the Office of School Support Services held their first inaugural symposium around student wellness, with topics including addressing toxic stress in students, supporting unhoused students, and students living in foster care. They had approximately 250 of our counselors, psychologists, head counselors, and social workers together in one room. Many of us got to drop in and experience some of what was being taught by the Guidance Center staff, by some of our own staff, and it was a really powerful day to expand the services and expand the training that is held by those who lead these efforts across our schools. At the end of the day, they presented peer-nominated awards, and so want to just shout out Psychologist of the Year, nominated by peers Sarah Madrid, Counselor of the Year, John Wong, and Social Worker of the Year, Miguel Zuniga. So really nice recognition for a lot of support services. And so thank you, Dr. Simon, Dr. Sosa Valderrama, who led today's efforts. And then lastly, looking ahead, so we've had a little break for our students, but Monday is a big day for us because thousands of our students will be across schools, across the city. In fact, 3/4 of our schools will have summer programming, and those that don't are paired through the level offices with another campus to provide services. Those services include extensive supports, enrichment, and accelerated learning. They include extended school year for our students with disabilities, and at the high school level, original credit recovery, as well as enrichment opportunities. And so the month of June through the end of July, and some extending into August, is going to be a busy month for our schools. And I just want to thank administrators and teachers who have made the choice to be a part of the summer programming. That's in addition to a really hardworking year, and so we appreciate them extending themselves into the summer. And so we won't be back together until July 18th, and so also want to wish all of you, after a really big agenda, lots of studying, lots of preparing for tonight, wish you a good month off as well.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Any announcements? Applebee's has half-price appetizers. Late night. I will entertain a motion to adjourn, colleagues.
So moved.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.